don't believe I have to remind you that this mission is top secret. Everything that you do will be rejected. Many of our best men have been on this mission before. We've sent in countless swabs, and we have uncovered massive levels of intel. But all those that we have caught, their mouths are shut tighter than sword knots. Every time we have a good lead, we come up short and empty-handed. This time, however, we're sending you undercover. You're gonna join them, become one of them, watch them, listen to them, and hopefully not be buried by them. We've lost a lot of the best boys we've got. We've lost countless taxpayers' dollars. You cannot become another casualty. Backroom deals, scumbags. We don't know what they're capable of, but we think we know what you're capable of. So be patient and listen. They're out there somewhere. They're out there.
All right. Welcome, one and all, to the Trade and Raid podcast. Glad to have you all here. I am Lord Glarp, or Mike, whatever you prefer. And yeah, we got some good stuff today. Unlike our normal podcast, we got some good shit today. I'm excited about it. With me, my co-pilot, as always, the disembodied voice of the world's most gorgeous man, Sage.
Say hi, Sage. Hi, Sage.
Say hi, Sage. Yeah. I'll sit here and wait 10 minutes for you to say hi. All right. This is for those of you who are new, those of you who have never heard of, the Trade and Raid podcast is a podcast dedicated to, whatever the heck we want to talk about. We're here to have a good time, and it has been a long time. I was going to say we're here for a good time, not a long time, but we usually run for a podcast 3 days a week. Pretty good. It is 9 p.m. EST every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And I was going to say we talk about gaming mostly. We talk about a lot of gaming stuff. Gaming-esque, gaming-adjacent stuff. Nerd culture stuff, I would say. What do you think, Sage? Yeah? Sound about right?
Oh yeah, mostly gaming and nerd culture stuff, and the occasional oddball thing, but mostly tying it back into gaming related, tech related, nerd related.
Yeah, I always want to say like a tech related podcast, but then it makes me think of like Linus Tech Tips, and I'm like, it's not quite that techy. This is more fun. Second monitor stuff, earbuds at work stuff, that kind of thing. What do we got today? Today, we're going to talk about the Genshin Impact voice actors not getting paid. We got a segment I'm calling What the Tech, because I think that's punny and hilarious. Basically just talking about some interesting tech stuff, techie things that are going on in the world, kind of like right now or around now. And then our third and final segment, we're going to talk about VR. And is VR still a thing? Where's it going? What's it doing? Where's it been? Because I think a lot of people got into VR and got really excited about it. Ready Player One came out, even more people got into it, and it feels as though it kind of dropped off the map to me a little bit. And whenever I hear about it, I just hear about like some MetaQuest stuff or some like PlayStation VR stuff, but like I never really hear much about like the state of VR, where are we at with it. Yeah, And
it's complicated.
I was gonna say, Sage got a lot to say about it. Now, for that final segment, I actually didn't find like some really good, compelling, interesting information on like the advancements of the actual headset itself. So, you know, we'll get there. We'll get there. We'll cross that bridge when we happen upon it. Uno momento. Gotta check something real quick. Okay, we good. We good. Thought we were losing connection for a second there. Yeah, doing this podcast three days a week is pretty. It's pretty intense. So a lot goes into this. I thought it was going to be less intense than just live streaming, like my normal live streams, but the research, the planning, and then you kind of like don't want to plan too far in advance in case, you know, shit happens and you want to talk about it. But then also sometimes the day of, and I'm like, not shit has happened in the past 3 days. You know, I gotta like go digging for things because I don't want to just sit up here and talk about boring stuff. You know, I like to keep it interesting and what's going on, and not just dive into, you know, the, what do they call that? The 24-hour news cycle. Like, I don't want to just do cover what everyone else is covering all the time. You know what I mean? Got to keep it fresh. Got to keep it super fresh. Do. How are you doing, Sage? How are you?
I'm pretty good. We got a little rained on my ride home, but it wasn't that bad. Just sprinkled a little bit, so it was a refreshing mist.
How's the bike doing?
Bike's fine. Yep.
Bike's good.
Bike is good.
I couldn't remember. You said you blew a tire, right? Was that last week?
Yeah.
Wednesday?
Yep. A couple weeks ago now. I just had to replace the tube. Yep.
Gotcha.
I've had the bike for 15-ish years, something like that.
Okay.
So, and this is the first time I've had to actually do something. It could use some more TLC, but I mean it functions perfectly fine.
Yeah, 15 years of riding it around. That's good. That's great. On and off probably, but pretty great.
Yeah. I went a few years without really riding too much, and man, I feel so good about it though.
Yeah, that's
so good about it.
Alrighty, should we jump into it?
Let's do it.
Genshin Impact voice actors not getting paid. Have you heard about this?
I have heard. I do not keep tabs on Genshin Impact, so I really haven't. I'm sure if it like just happened today, it would probably have taken another like 24 hours to kind of hit my news feeds, at least for the whole like work job related, you know, news things that I follow to be like, yeah, this thing happened.
So
but if it happened,
it started on July 12th.
Okay.
We've come to there was a lot though. And actually I don't think it was on a lot of people's radar. I noticed it in quite a few of the like the normal news channels I look at, like Kotaku, Rock Paper Shotgun, IGN, all that stuff. And they kind of like mentioned it, but it was very, very slight because I don't think like anyone really knew. Like there wasn't enough known to make it news, I guess is how I'd say it.
Right.
But what's nuts?
It only affected one game.
What's nuts is so this was this tweet from 2012. I think this is the person. I don't know if this is the person. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. That voices Paimon, which is like your little helper person from the beginning of the game. It's like little fairy creature person that follows you around. And they said again, been working for months unpaid on a big project for a studio. I am owed thousands of dollars. I'm struggling currently to pay rent because of this. This project has made billions. This project should be union. That's what they said. This voice actor then said this wouldn't happen if the game was union. Tell them to make the game SAG. What do we got here? Just to be clear, we don't know if this is the fault of the studio or the game company, but regardless, if the game was union, this wouldn't happen. So they kind of go on about it, right? What's nuts is that this person is doing probably one of the characters that has the most talking lines in the game. So, I mean, it's not like they got like a little side role. This is, as far as the English translation of the game, they've got probably one of, if not the biggest voice acting jobs for the game. So it's crazy that they've been voice acting for this character for months and haven't been getting paid. Now, another person who tweeted out was this Brandon Wickler. Said, after a fifth email with no response, this is regarding Genshin Impact. Inexcusable for us as actors to be waiting 4+ months for pay when you make 86 million per month. Unfortunately, this is not an uncommon problem. And I don't know if that's them respond. Yeah, that would be them responding to this one, I think. I have a big, giant, ridiculous call out thread primed and ready to go, but I'll leave it at this for now. Pay your fucking actors on time. I'm so sick of waiting 3+ months for payment for literally the biggest video game project out there. Then he continued, or they continued, I don't know who they are. They continued. It's really hard to justify working on something for the sake of work when you can't afford to eat. Many non-union productions have this problem. I've waited anywhere from 4 to 8 months for payment, and even then it isn't much to ask. 1,000 here, 500 there, and it adds up fast. I can only speak for myself, but I build my budget months in advance trying to accommodate this and not be a pain because I love to act. I love working on the games and shows these studios work on. A game like this, without a doubt, should be, well, yeah, union. With all that said, I personally won't be working on this game anymore unless it goes under a contract. I don't have much to lose from this choice, and if I'm lucky, I hope others will at least see where I'm coming from with that choice. Sorry to be so negative. So, just from these two tweets, it seems obvious that the problem, and this was another one on July 12th, and this had 4.2 million views, over 6,000 retweets. So this isn't just some person in a corner yelling into the void. I mean, this is almost 30,000 likes. It's been bookmarked. What is this? They did voice acting for Sword Art Online, Genshin Impact, Pokemon. So this is a voice actor, big time voice actor.
They have been around the block.
And they're waiting 4+ months for pay. And when I heard about this, same response as Chad. I'm like, I feel like I should have heard more about this, but I don't know if it's like because of the writer strike and the actor strike stuff going on, if maybe it got kind of bundled up and drowned it out because it's like acting related. That's the only thing I can think of to understand why, because it seems like really big news, doesn't it? Like, it's the idea that voice actors for like one of the biggest gaming studios in like history, we'll get into that in a second, isn't paying a voice actor. And like, I don't know, Sage, maybe you can tell me, I don't know if you know, I don't think voice actors make that much money.
I mean, compared to compared to like regular actors, they really don't. Not at least, especially like the big name actors. It's the Hollywood machine, man. It's like your name has to be money, otherwise you get shit on, basically. You know, like if you're not a big name in the space, then you are going to be taking nearly every single offer you can get, no matter how small or non-glamorous. And it's rough, you know. Same goes with the writers. Writers get paid very little. That's one of the whole reasons there's the strike going on,
Right.
especially under threat of AI, large language models being utilized to potentially replace some, if not most, of their labor and various other problems. Because voice acting can have it's in a very similar place with that. So it's interesting. And in this case, it just screams like bad business practices.
Right. Right here, they're saying, I've waited anywhere from 4 to 8 months. So that's like past tense. So they're saying like, this sucks, but it's actually been worse than this before.
Yeah.
And they said,
and it's not like it's an indie studio or something that's
right.
You got to be pro bono, or if this thing hits off, then maybe you'll make some money. It's quote unquote exposure. Like, it's not that at all. It's like, this is, as they said, this is a gig for a company that prints money.
Yes.
It's
quite literally.
They're doing voice work for games that are gacha games. They quite literally print money. There is absolutely no justifiable, even like any reason that's not justifiable is going to be like no one should take it seriously. No one could whatever excuse they could come up with. It's just like, no, absolutely not.
So we got a couple things to think about. One, it's not isolated. It's not one person. We can show that it's multiple people. And we know that both of these people are voice acting predominant characters. The last person we had up here, this Zulu and Lima, this, like I said, this character probably has the most speaking lines in the game, which is just I don't know how else to emphasize that. However, I don't think this person as a voice actor is as well known for their plethora of roles, considering this has like 180 bookmarks and 7,000 likes, and this one has 30,000 likes and that sort of thing. So the other person is a more predominant character in the game. This person is a more predominant person within the voice acting realm. So when I heard about this, I was like, number one, like we said, why am this was what, 765? This was posted 5 days ago, almost a week ago. And I totally missed it when looking for things to talk about a week ago. Right. So I looked into the company that owns Genshin Impact, which is MiHoYo. And let me refresh this real quick. So this is from June 9th, 2023. And the title of the article, which I thought was perfect, and I know the text is going to be freaking microscopic for you guys on your screen, so please bear with me. MiHoYo made more money than either EA, Activision Blizzard, and Embracer. According to recent financial news, MiHoYo, developers of Genshin Impact, made more profit in 2022 than major players like EA, Activision Blizzard, and even Embracer Group. According to a translated article by Chinese media outlet, Gungming Daily, via Game World Observer, MiHoYo made an estimated $3.8 billion in revenue in 2022, with a net profit of $2.26 billion. Although companies like Take-Two made $5.3 billion, Activision Blizzard made $7.5 billion, and EA made $7.4 billion. They had higher revenues, but none matched the developer in terms of profit. So that's the big thing is, and I looked up some of these other numbers earlier. These get, by percentage, they get cut down an insane amount. But to come out with, I mean, well over 50% profit, was that 2/3 profit?
It's ridiculous.
That's insane. Like in business in general, that's insane.
Yeah. That means that someone is being incredibly ripped off.
Somebody. And we just had
a
an
group
example
of
somebodies who are getting ripped off. Let's see here. MiHoYo still trails behind Chinese heavyweight Tencent. However, earlier in May it passed NetEase in terms of revenue. Let's see here. If accurate, gives an idea of just how massive the Chinese market is, and in terms of raw profit, how it can measure up to even massive game makers in the US and abroad. It's crazy. So this was actually like just looking into the Chinese gaming market is more so where this was going. Investing outside of the US and stuff like that. Let's see here. They got Hanukkah Star Rail is their other game, their other big draw. But I just wanted to also, so we're setting the stage, right? We've got voice actors not getting paid. We have a company that by sheer profit is making more than companies that are well over twice their size. And you obviously, the only way you get more profit is if you pay people less. Because when we're talking about coding and stuff, it's not like these people are buying big machinery and expanding large factories and buying up land, and these are tech companies. So like Activision Blizzard's business space has not like quadrupled in size physically over the last decade. So we're that blood has to be coming from a rock somewhere.
They are an economic cancer.
Yeah, absolutely. So I got this from, I got the rest of the story, quite a bit of it, from Sports Kita, which is an esports and gaming, or at least the esports and gaming segment of this. I could not find this information anywhere else. As far as like my normal go-to gaming news sources, what they covered was just people aren't getting paid and then 5 days of silence. No article updates, no looking deeper into it, nothing. It was absolutely bizarre, the lack of care of shits given about this, which makes me feel even worse for the voice actors, because it seems so ridiculous. So this was a Reddit post. MiHoYo's statement regarding the missing payments, and it's written here, so I'll just read this. We truly regret to learn about the ongoing situation. Genshin Impact values and respects the work and effort of everyone involved, and we support our voice actors to claim their proper due. We have made payments to our recording studio on time, and we immediately urged the studio to pay our voice actors from our past payment. Meanwhile, we are also seeking alternative solutions, and we will keep you posted. So the plot thickens. Genshin Impact, the official Genshin Impact account, says, we didn't know that our US-based voice actors were not getting paid. We paid the recording studio. We don't know why they're not paying you. Which, for a company of that size, has got to be insanely embarrassing.
Yeah, and all of that statement may or may not be true. It could just be PR talk, damage control.
True, very true. Apparently, MiHoYoverse was already paying Formosa Interactive, and Formosa Interactive is basically they're a company that just does voice acting. They do voice recording. They get contracts from mostly Japanese companies, and they're the ones who source voice actors, pay voice actors, and handle some of the translation stuff. Yet the latter company wasn't compensating Brandon Wicker and Corina, oh boy, Bodiger. MiHoYoverse was seeking some alternative solutions after urging the dubbing studio to pay on time. Thankfully, it appears a solution is on the horizon based on what Paimon's VA has stated in the following tweet. Having finally gotten word that things are being fixed, thank you, everybody. The sucky thing is, I don't have the stinking... Let me see if I can find it. I kind of want the date, you know what I mean? I want to... This website sucks. What is this? Sports Kita? Get your shit together. Not being able to click on a Twitter copy in the year of our Lord 2023. Are you out of your fucking mind? Okay, sorry. Da da da. Of course, it would help if I knew how to like navigate Twitter. I don't like Twitter on the computer. July 15th. July 15th.
You know, you could really just stop it. I don't like Twitter.
Yeah, right. Big true. July 14th. I don't know. I can't find it. Oh, right there. July 14th. So within 48 hours, they got some kind of response. Let's see. So they said here in this part of their tweet, it's not their fault that they didn't know sooner. There are things that I can't talk about that was the reason that it was that way, but it's not MiHoYoverse's fault. So just going off of this person, it seems like they're in contact with, and they're saying, it's interesting because you would think if your company is that big and it's that valuable, how could you miss this? But then it's also like they miss this because the business is so big, you know, like it sucks to say, but being a voice actor and falling through the cracks, even though you're lending your voice to the most important characters in the game, when you're faced against $3+ billion, if you're, you know, X number of thousands a month isn't getting to you, I don't know how they would know that. So it's good that they started tweeting at him. But yeah. Yeah. At the end of the day, I was homeless. Please tell me how. Okay. Yeah. People just Twitter arguing. Ugh. Stated that things are being fixed. No specific time frame or anything was listed, but it's apparent that some payments are going to the rightful parties now. How this will affect Studio's relationship with MiHoYoverse in the future is yet to be revealed. Let's see. Yeah, and that's all we got on kind of how this played out with Formosa Interactive paying Genshin Impact voice actors. But I wish I knew more about these guys, because there's not a ton. Their website is basically just an advertisement, basically. And they have like a list of games that they work on. They work on a lot of games. They work on a lot of dubs. They work on a lot of stuff. So they, however, did not post anything or say anything about it. They haven't been reached for. They haven't said anything about the whole Genshin Impact thing. I don't know that they could if they wanted to anyway. But I would really, really like to hear from them. What's also nuts about this is like now we're 4 or 5 days away from this, and it's like it's just it's just kind of, it feels very swept under the rug to me. And I don't really care for that. Very little in the way of responses, very little said, one official post. And presumably, I mean, there's a lot of characters in Genshin Impact, so who knows, you know, how many people have gone 4 to 8 months without getting paid. It boggles the mind, and I don't know. I wish there was more story. If there's any updates on this, I will absolutely let you guys know in the future, but that's really all we got. We have no further details, and absolutely none of my normal gaming news outlets are covering this at all. I figured at least Kotaku would, or maybe the Anime News Network would. Nothing. Nothing. Most of them don't even tell you this much as far as this response and that it's being taken care of. If it's being taken care of. Speaking of the Anime News Network, you still there, Sage? I know you said you had to step away at some point. Just wasn't sure if that was...
Yeah, kind of. I'm multitasking.
Oh, okay. So I thought kind of in the same vein, if we're talking about voice actors, oh boy. I'm so bad with names. Fairouz Ai? The voice of Jolene Kojo in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and Power in Chainsaw Man posted some advice for anyone looking to break into a voice acting career. And this is what they posted. There you have it, guys. There's the secrets on screen now. This is the cheat codes for voice acting. I'll go slow so you can kind of drink it all in. Yeah, this one's zoomed in so you know it's important. There you go. There it is. There's the secret sauce. what the actual post says. If you are an aspiring voice actor, I would suggest from now on you start writing down the words you see in books or in your daily life that you don't know the meaning of or don't know how to pronounce. I talked about this in my last Instagram live, but this is something I did as a form of self-study even before I attended voice actor training school. And I'm really glad I did. Of course, it's impossible to memorize them all, but once you write them out by hand, you will certainly be able to draw upon them. And filling up notebook pages is very motivating because it allows you to visualize your efforts. Try it. Along with this sound advice, the tweet also included several pages of one of her own notebooks filled with once unfamiliar words, and also a Chewbacca sticker. Her herself is currently playing the lead in this season's The Most Heretical Last Boss Queen from Villainous to Savior. Anime names are so ridiculous and can be found on Twitter here. And everything they post is in Japanese. However, there's a really neat translator. Like, you just click on this and you click translate and there it is. And the Google Translator seems to be pretty good. It's kind of a bummer that you got to click on them. I don't know if there's a way that you can like make it translate everything all the time. Probably not, but it is nice to be able to do that. So yeah, writing down all the words you either don't know or don't know how to pronounce and then working on those individually in a notebook. Sounds like good advice to me. I'm not a voice actor, so I don't know. Boom. First segment. Down. Done. Is today Monday? It really feels like a Monday, doesn't it? It is, in fact, Monday. I really wish we knew more about that Genshin Impact, like where it's at right now. Like, maybe it's too early, or maybe it's just got totally fixed and it doesn't matter anymore. I don't know. I do not know, and I'm kind of wondering if people were like coerced to not talk about it. Told they're not allowed to. I don't know. Boop, boop, boo. What do we got next? Gotta resize my windows all the time. All right. Second segment, what the tech? FBI used a Nintendo Switch to locate an abducted child. Just for everyone's, just for y'all. Trigger warning for some sexual talk. I'll try to avoid the R word because I don't like that word. And yeah, just child abduction and stuff like that. So you know it all goes in there. So if you don't want to hear about it, like no tea, no shade. Like I get it. It's a bit of a touchy subject. I get it. A friend notified the authorities after seeing the missing girl sign on her console to download a game. Now, this was published 10 hours ago and updated 6 hours ago. The FBI used a Nintendo Switch console to locate an abducted 15-year-old girl who had been missing for 11 days back in August of 2022. In a horrendous case involving kidnapped and exploitation, a teen girl was found and rescued only after she logged online with her Nintendo Switch. Let's see here. The unidentified Virginian teenager is a homebody, said family and friends, and unlikely to run away. However, she met a stranger, then 28-year-old Ethan, on the online chatting platform Omegle? I don't know what Omegle is. In January of 2022, when she was just around 14 years old, the two talked for a few days, then moved their conversation to Discord and Snapchat. Robert sent nudes of himself to the girl and requested explicit images of her as well, to which she complied. Later, Roberts traveled 2,000 miles from his apartment in Arizona to the young girl's hometown. Their encounter culminated in Roberts kidnapping the girl and bringing her back to Arizona. Roberts coerced the teen, insisting she meet strangers on the whatever that chat room is, to sell them nudes via Snapchat between August 3rd, 2022 and August 14th, 2022, according to court documents viewed by Kotaku. Let's see here. When the girl went missing on August 3rd, folks in Virginia put up flyers to locate her. A volunteer with the local nonprofit Hear Their Voices, which helps find missing and exploited children, told ABC 15 they were on the case. We immediately reached out to her family and spoke with her grandmother and her stepdad, and that next day we were out there, boots on the ground. Let's see here. No one could pinpoint her location. No one could find her. Until the girl booted up her Nintendo Switch to watch YouTube videos and downloaded a game, a friend saw that she was online and informed the authorities. With Nintendo's cooperation, the FBI called the Switch's IP address, uncovered her location, and moved to arrest Roberts. Retired Arizona DPS Director Frank Milston, who was not involved with the case, told ABC 15 that police agencies often use digital device tracking info to apprehend suspected criminals and find missing people. It's probably nothing anyone even had thought of at this point, Milstead said. The fact that somebody else down the road, another child, was bright enough to go, hey, look, my friend is online and she's been missing. I need to tell somebody. Everything's connected, Wi-Fi, LTE, long-term evolution devices, a cell phone, an iPad, a watch, whatever it is, you can use those things to locate people. In an email to Kotaku, an FBI representative said that this case is proof that no one can escape the agency's wide reach and expansive resources. That sounds like a threat. Kind of. Thanks to the local police departments, quick response, and FBI, Norfolk's ingenuity, we were able to locate the missing victim through her gaming account and reunite her with her family. Pretty neat. I thought that was an interesting. I thought it was it's interesting to see technology used like that. I don't know if that's the right way to say that, but
I mean, it's not that out of the ordinary, actually.
It's
I mean,
very normal,
like cell phones
feeling.
and stuff. Yeah,
because go ahead. Sorry,
I was gonna say the craziest thing is just that kid noticed their friend going online. Like, if that had never happened, if that timing had been off, or if they forced her to use like a new account, a new username and stuff on her Switch, like the fact that they let her have a Switch at all, like that's all very, very lucky.
Yeah, it almost seems like they were like, we're gonna take your cell phone away, like so you can't like text people and stuff like that. But this also implies that they gave her the Wi-Fi password. Yeah, you know what I mean? So they're like, I want to download a game. Give me the Wi-Fi. But yeah, really, really cool. Really, just great. Like, I mean, I don't care how you locate and save an abducted child. I mean, it's good no matter what. But hearing it go through a Nintendo Switch like that is pretty cool, pretty interesting. Yeah, and like you said, that friend noticing that they had come online, I mean, for all he knew, the Switch was stolen or sold or handed off to someone else, But pretty cool that it was the actual person. 15-year-old girl was, I think they said 14 when it all went down. All right, so more cool shit going on with technology. So I found this article, thought it was pretty cool. The most promising 3D bioprinting projects. And it's like I knew that we were printing stuff like tissue and stuff, but I guess I had never read what the definition of bioprinting was or is. Bioprinting is a method that makes it possible to manufacture cellular structures from biolinks loaded with stem cells. Layer by layer, the biomaterial is deposited to design skin, tissue, or even an organ. It's kind of cool. The way these things look is so interesting. Let's see. They 3D printed a mini human heart, which actually beats. The Boston University research team has used 3D printing technology to develop a miniature replica of a human heart. The device was created using a combination of human cell-derived heart cells and micro-scale 3D printed acrylic parts. It is a precision-enabled, miniaturized, unidirectional cardiac microfluidic pump. Yeah, that's what it is. Also known as a mini pump. Researchers want to use this replica of a heart chamber to study how the heart works in the human body. So kind of cool. An actual, like, functioning, to a degree, human heart that was made using actual cells from a person, made of actual tissue. Pretty interesting. 3D printed solution for kidney failure. Another prime example of bioprinting is related to kidneys. Countless people, blah, blah, blah. Let's see here. US-based Trestle Biotherapeutics has been working on developing a 3D printed tissue that can be implanted into patients suffering from end-stage renal disease. Specifically, this is a completely functional kidney tissue that is designed to replace and also supplement previously lost kidney function. So there you go. The goal of the Trestle team is not only to free patients from dialysis treatments and give them more time before transplantation, but also to use this bioprinted kidney tissue as a functional replacement organ in the future. So it sounds like right now it's already like nearly viable for dialysis treatment. Give you more time before a transplant, and we're getting close to 3D printed kidneys. Let's see here. 3D printing of a cornea. This is when it gets weird. Like the organs, I've seen stuff like that before, 3D printed organs, but I've never heard of a printed cornea. Which is, it's like a 3D printed contact lens, but it's made of tissue manufactured from bio ink obtained from human corneal tissue, and without the addition of any other artificial or synthetic elements. Those in charge of the initiative claimed that for every human cornea donated, 3 new corneas can be 3D printed. It's so interesting. But still, it's, the project has been tested in rabbits, and although there is still some time before it can be used in humans, the results have been successful. Researchers at the University of Sao Paulo in Brazil have succeeded in creating miniature versions of a human liver from blood cells. The process took only 90 days from the collection of the blood to the production of the tissue. Developed using 3D bioprinting technologies, integrate the functionalities of the 3D printed organ in question. These include the production of vital proteins, the storage of vitamins, and the secretion of bile. To create the liver tissue, the team used the incredible bioprinter. So, a miniature liver fully printed in 30 days. Using the patient's own blood too, which is going to be awesome for when we get to the point where we can actually print these organs. Like, it's going to be awesome that the organs, like, once they're functional, won't be rejected as easy because, it's your blood that made the organ.
In new news articles, they'll be like, millennials killing the organ black market.
Yeah. Secondary market destroyed. A young woman from the USA suffering from micronia was successfully transplanted a 3D printed ear. The condition is a congestional anomaly that impedes the development of the outer ear. The implant was made by the company 3D Biotherapeutics from collagen hydrogel and cartilage cells from the patient. As little as half a gram is sufficient for cartilage harvesting from the ear. The cells responsible for the cartilage formation are cultivated in a patented nutrient mixture and multiply as a result. These are then mixed with a biolink. Within 10 minutes, the ear can be printed for the patient. After the printing process, the ear is shipped in a protective case to the surgeon, who then performs the transplant. Isn't that crazy? They took the person's cartilage, made the mixture. Let's say these are then mixed with a biolink. Within 10 minutes, it can be printed. And then they just like shrink wrap it and send it to the surgeon. Oh man. Let's see here. Treatment is less Professor Anthony Alta, director at the Wake Forest Institute of Regenerative Medicine, emphasizes the importance of the project. This is a major breakthrough for the field of regenerative medicine. 3D printing aims to offer a number of advantages over handmade artificial tissue, including scaling, higher design accuracy, and lower cost. So interesting. 3D printing skin, help with burns, cancer, accidents, all that stuff. We've had the skin for quite a while. The first 3D printed nose reconstruction, which is interesting. Especially as here, there are a number of reasons why a patient would require prosthetics, especially if they are suffering from diseases which may need surgery. Though, of course, treating illness is most important, it can be difficult for the patient to suddenly change their appearance. Luckily, bioprinting may also be able to solve this issue. In the case of Toulouse University Cancer Institute, a patient who had lost a large part of their nose as well as the front part of their palate during treatment for nasal cavity cancer was able to essentially grow their own nose, allowing for a complete reconstruction. The process to do this had a number of steps, starting with a 3D printed biomaterial that was implanted under the skin on the forearm for vascularization, or the process of growing blood vessels and tissue. After 2 months, the colonization of the medical device was complete, and it was transplanted to the nasal area, successfully revascularizing, giving the patient a fully working nose made out of their own cells. They grew their own nose on their own arm, and it took 2 months. What is this strange future we live in? Growing your own nose on your own arm. It seems like you'd have a very big scar on your arm afterwards. Oh, like I don't know. It's so interesting that like they grew it on the arm because they needed blood vessels to grow, and it's like, how the heck did that take 2 months? Like, at what point are people gonna like get a scrape or like a big scratch, and instead of getting like stitches, they're just gonna put some of this bio putty in the spot, and then be like, nah, 2 months. 2 months healed. Don't worry about it.
Or if it's small like that, you know, could be just fucking 5 days.
Like, a human being is not capable of growing a nose. If your nose is gone, it's gone.
I mean, I've grown a nose, at least one.
At least you only get the one shot. That's right. That's true. You only get the one though. So it's like my brain just doesn't comprehend how it would only take 2 months. Obviously, it's got help from the technology, but still, it's a lot.
Yeah, it's very fascinating, and maybe it's actually, maybe as an adult, it grows faster because the rest of you isn't actually growing anymore. So it's like, all right, just fucking all your growth potential is funneled into that one thing.
I feel like the speed at which it's done is actually what's impressing me more than it being possible. Like for this for the ear, what'd they say? Yeah, so they took the patient's cartilage, did a nutrient mixture, mixed with a biolink. Within 10 minutes, an ear can be printed. After the printing, it was shipped in a protective case. That's it. Like, I'm imagining like your whole ass ear gets chopped off for some reason, and they're like, go to the hospital. They take a little bit of cartilage from you. 10 minutes later, they've printed an ear, and they hand you an ear in a shrink wrap bag. And they're like, oh, go take that to surgery. You go in there and they just put it on. And they're like, all right, there you go. In 2 months, the ear will be a functional ear. Then you're good to go. Blood vessels, all that stuff. Be good to go. I wonder if nerves grow. I know they said the blood vessels do, and that makes sense to me, but I feel like the nerves wouldn't. Seems like growing nerves would be a harder thing to do. I don't know though. Obviously, I don't know anything about this because this is all blowing my mind. Man, do you remember Fifth Element, Sage?
Oh yeah.
Remember when they laid down in the machine and it just started like putting cross sections of bone together, almost like it was 3D printing bone in like slides, and then it just like stretched muscle and then like applied veins, and they're like, oh, they covered the blast shields. They're like, what is it doing? It's like, oh, it's bombarding the skin with, you know, whatever light to grow skin. And you're like, it's just, I feel like we're not that far off I feel like
10, 15 years.
Yeah, especially when they say like, you know, we can grow 3 retinas from one. We can grow 1 year ear from a small cartilage sample. It's like, at what point is it like, you lost an arm, we're going to need like, you're going to have to get your blood drawn like 2 times and we'll just build you a new arm. Interesting. It's going to be so fucking crazy when getting a heart transplant via a 3D printed heart from your own cells is like the safer thing to do.
Yeah. I'm telling you, the black market for organs is just gonna collapse. That's what's gonna happen.
Overnight, gone. A whole economy wiped out.
Well, shit.
I don't know. This sort of thing. Have you ever heard of the reverse life?
I don't think so.
I think it's called reverse life. You know, maybe that's not what it's called. I just typed it in. Man, nope, nope, that's not it. I thought it was called reverse life. Basically, I saw a thing. They were talking about a machine that like a medic would have, like an ambulance would have. And it's got this giant container of fluid, blue, they used blue in the demonstration, but this like blue oxygen rich fluid that you could basically pump that into a person and pump their blood out. Like you'd blood drain them and pump this shit in like an insanely severe emergency scenario. Like someone's bleeding out and they're gonna die. And it's like the oxygen richness of the fluid is enough that to keep the brain alive for like an extended period of time.
Oh, so like if it stopped, it wasn't actually like you pump it in, but you're not using like dialysis to keep it moving. You're just pumping it in and it's just sitting there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's like a scientific zombification, mummification thing, but the brain is actually being kept alive. That's crazy.
And I was like, I have no clue how that would be possible. Maybe they said that there's some kind of pressure that's put on it, but I think the idea was that it's either stagnant or it's so slow moving that it might as well be stagnant. Something like that. But it didn't. The point was that it didn't need to be pumped through the body. Like it didn't need to be continuously supplied at like a fast rate. Maybe if more
the heart
like
wasn't pumping, it's fine.
Yeah, maybe more like the speed at which like an IV bag drains. Like maybe that fast, where it's just a drip basically. But it keeps all of your like veins and it keeps your brain good. And then I guess kind of works as like a scrub for like arteries and things like that. It was such an interest, like blood clots, arteries, stuff like that, because it doesn't coagulate or anything.
And oxygen is very reactive, so it could kind of it basically burn away, stuff like a detergent to your veins. But like how that would stop and not actually cause damage to other parts because of how volatile oxygen actually is in an organic environment. Like there's got to be something moderating in the fluid as well, keeping it basically there's like an inverse oh god, the term's on the tip of my tongue. For a chemical reaction, something a catalytic a catalyzer, right? Like an inverse catalyzer. It's actually slowing and moderating the reaction instead of catalyzing it, making it not only does it flow and seep like at a speed, but it also allows it to release into the body slower than it would in the blood, but because it's a higher density, it kind of matches blood, but without the move. That's nuts. That's nuts.
I heard about that like probably 5 or 6 years ago. Like it was quite a while ago. And I was like thinking, because obviously they talked about like putting a human in like suspended animation instead of like, what do they call that? They don't dry freeze people. Nitrogen. Like instead of the liquid nitrogen, instead, like this, because I guess the idea is that in theory you would never like die if you had a constant flow of blood going through your body,
well,
even if something else was doing it.
I know with cryogenics, one of the issues is if they just freeze the human body like as is, what happens is the crystallization of
the breakdown
water
of the cell
will actually, it forms ice crystals inside the cell, which, I mean, if you've seen a snowflake under a microscope, it's actually pretty sharp. So it can actually just rupture cell walls, and it's like, even if you're fine while you're frozen, if you get thawed out, you'd basically just die because your cells are
you practically melt.
no longer you wouldn't. It's just your cells aren't functioning properly anymore because they've been damaged. So if they pumped your blood out, filled it with some other solution that behaves differently under low temperature, that would be something.
Yeah, because it also calls into question, like, I mean, do you still need to eat? Do you still need nutrition at that point? Is cell division still happening at that point? How temporary is it? It was a really cool. The idea was supposed to be just a temporary for life and death emergencies sort of thing.
Right.
But you mix that with all this 3D printing stuff, and it's like, man, at some point you could get like, put one tube in one jugular, one tube in the other jugular, pump this fluid through the head, cut the head off, print a new body. It's like, it sounds like such sci-fi madness, but I mean,
it's getting there. The
individual parts are there enough, And then what I've been really thinking about is how in a lot of East Asian countries they're doing the thing where like they break their shins to try to gain height and stuff like that.
Yep.
And I'm like, man, like at what point does like cosmetic surgery with these advancements get into like, I'm a multi-billionaire and I want a completely different body. You can 3D print basically the whole body. You can take all my organs and transplant them into a new body. And because they've done a head transplant, right?
Yes, but I don't think they were exactly what we would have considered successful for the purposes of what we would consider like a good proper head transplant. It's like they've done it. I know they've done it like with animals too. Like there's a Russian scientist that did it with dogs a number of years back, or maybe it kept the dog's head alive separate from the body, but it didn't last particularly long. I think it's similar to the hubbub over fusion. It's like technically the recent fusion reaction that actually generated more energy, but it was under very narrow parameters, and technically if you were to scale it up, it would, it's like, yeah, technically, but not really, not in a way that actually quite matters as much as, the science publications made it out to be for sensationalist headlines.
Gotcha. Okay, so they have successfully done it with animals. From what I'm reading. In 1959?
That's the thing, is like the technical ability to do it
Huh.
I mean, we've it's literally like tubes, right? Like sticking
Yeah,
tubes
I was
in
gonna
veins
say
and
I
stuff
got
like
thinking
that.
about it,
Like,
and I'm like, I guess like
it's not that high tech.
right, man. So I guess then what I'd be getting into is like if you can 3D print a nose and ears, now you can replace all of your teeth with not teeth.
Yeah.
I mean,
The human. Oh my God! It's the sky. Imagination is going to be the sky's the limit, and being able to fix mistakes. Let's say you like.
but
Let's
that's
say
not
you-
what it's going to be. Like it'll be a great medical thing, save people's lives for sure. But someone's going to pop up with, $6 billion and be like, pump my brain full of that fluid. I want to keep my own eyes maybe. And let's just I want a designer body.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. Absolutely. But like, yeah. Like, just someone who's obscenely wealthy, more wealthy than anyone has any right to be, is just like, you know what? Today, I want to be the tallest man, and
But
and they just
that's the thing though. Where's the limit with it? I mean, if the technology becomes readily available, and from what this says, actually like cheaper than normal, it's like,
well,
at what point is it like, I don't even know, like people pushing the boundaries of like how big of a shell can you have, or if you're very old and very like overweight and you're like very rich, if the only thing you retain as original is like, let's say, your brain. It's interesting to think like, where would the biological clock end?
so as far
start?
as I'm aware, like cell senescence, the aging of the cells, their breakdown over time, the things that actually cause it to happen, both on like a cellular level and a genetic level. Like there are some major problems that printing a new body but keeping the brain could definitely extend lifespan, but it wouldn't definitely not be indefinite.
Right.
Like, eventually, because plaque, there's a type of plaque that builds up on the brain,
right,
and that will degrade. And we mentioned, I think was the last one, like the ship of Theseus problem, kind of. Like,
yeah.
you're gonna have similar situation there.
Because I thought the biggest problem with that life extension was the whatever the caps are called on the ends of DNA that get dwindled down.
The telomeres. Yep.
And if you're 3D printing the body using your own blood cells and your own cells from your own body, it would stand to reason that they would be in the same condition they were with your old body, right? So it seems like whatever would be made out of them may like appear very young, but would like very rapidly age, because those are still the same length as they were.
It's hard to say, though. It's hard to say. I don't think they would necessarily like rapidly age. I don't think it would appear like they'd rapidly age, but you would experience the breakdowns of tissue much sooner. Like yeah, you printed a new liver, and that liver looks like a 20-year-old liver or something like that, but the life clock on the cells in that liver are technically at a 50-60-year-old point, right? So they will they will be more susceptible to diseases of the liver.
What were those things called again?
It's telomerization, I think, is the process. It's the telomeres, or telomere length, is what you'd Google. That should bring it up.
Because that's I know that there was three major three major issues with aging, and I know that was like the big one, the main one. And then there was a buildup of something in the body. Like basically your body is filled with like micro waste. But I think as you age, your body gets worse at cleaning itself out. So that might be more of a symptom. So interesting. So yeah, anyone out there listening, if you want to like know more about like how you can predict the lifespan of like any animal, really this telomere shortening rate is so very precise on the lifespan of an animal, of a creature. It's so precise. It's almost like the age at which you will expire from age is like pre-planned in your DNA, which is so strange because in theory, if you could put some kind of artificial cap on these and you got the what's it called, the base pairs, if you got the base pairs back up to like 8,000 or 3,000, you would like revert back.
Yeah. So I think the play for at least the first few like generations of this technology is just going to be like, if you're wealthy, if you're born wealthy as a baby, like you're going to have some of your stem cells, like your early stem cells, cryogenically frozen or stored or something like that, and kept in stasis, and then pulled from that whenever you need something.
Right.
And then maybe periodically, just in case, like throughout your life, they'll take additional samples of cells and stuff so that you have a kind of a way to slowly keep pushing your clock forward. But when you need to go back further, like you have that option, and that's the more limited resources the further back you go, or something wild like that. That's and honestly, that's the point where we reach what is it, like a singularity? It's kind of like the technological singularity, but for lifespan and medical stuff, where it's like, yes, these technologies will extend your lifespan long enough that new technology, to extend it further, and basically we will reach the point where you could be functionally immortal, which is
you know what, though?
An incredibly complex topic.
Yeah, but I listened to a guy he's like one of the top age researchers in the world, and him and like this master mathematician engineer guy got together, and they were trying to develop the average length of a life if aging was a non-issue, and it was based on how accident prone human beings are at their peak age. And then they based, obviously, like peak age for different people is different, so obviously they had to average out all of that. But they were like, if you have a way to stay at peak age all the time, all of humanity does in general, they said the average person would live to be 300 years old, based purely on how mathematically prone to accidents we are,
statistically speaking.
Yeah, I mean, it's an average. Yeah. So, you know, some people that's got to be deadly accidents, right? Because if like a regular accident where you just like you get an arm ripped off in a car accident or something, it's like, okay, well, no big deal. You just got to wait 2 months for your new arm to be generated. This is like you took so much damage so instantly that we can't fix it. That
piano fell on
short of being able to control time, it can't be fixed. You know, I can't cure dead is the, you know, But I thought it was funny, not funny, interesting, funny, I guess, that 300, roughly 300 years old is what it came out to. It's like, if you live to be 300 years old, your chances of accidentally killing yourself go through the roof.
And that's got to be a really surface level thing, right? Because that's like not accounting for any sort of specifics, like the rate of like accidents in the workplace, particularly lethal ones, are much more common in blue collar, manual labor jobs and stuff, and they are the least likely to be able to afford this kind of stuff. So
right, yeah, I think
so. That's like a lower limit.
Yeah,
all honesty, people doing this, they're going to live a lot longer than 300. That's like the lowest limit.
Yeah, I mean, but obviously they gotta incorporate, like, someone turned 22 years old and on their 22nd birthday got into a car accident and died. So yeah, it's like how long was their clock? 15 minutes, a couple hours or something like that. And then you have someone else who lives to be 2,000 years old, and then the average comes out to 300 years between the two or something like that,
Yeah, so, that's the idea. Yeah.
Mathematically, it probably, the extremes are probably what are yanking on either end of it. But
it's not a very accurate statistic then.
it was a funny one though. It's like, just because they talked in length about how accident prone we are. But the biggest thing the dude was talking about, the age science guy, there's a word for it. I can't think of it though. The most interesting part of the conversation to him when he was talking about it was the problem we have, and it's called like thought loss. But the idea is, like, let's say you, Sage, are like a world-renowned scientist in some field. I don't even know. Botany. I don't know.
Sure.
And
I like plants.
and you're very sharp for like an 80-year-old man. Very sharp. You're still in your, you're still doing your thing, and you're like, I'm retiring now, and I have been training Meeker, who's going to replace me, and he's 30 years my junior. The problem is I'm 50 years old. And let's say I'm not as sharp as you were at 50 years old, and I'm training someone else who's 30 years my junior. He's 20 years old, he's still in college, and he's my pupil, right? The amount of loss of intuitional understanding and developing of new ideas that is like lost forever when you leave is also not being passed on to me in part. And because I'm not as sharp and as intelligent as you, and then I end up retiring in my 60s instead, the guy behind me, they were like basically taking how much information is being lost generation over generation, even though we're writing everything down, even though we have like a really good, library of what we know. It's the pushing the boundary of what we don't know and getting into new hypothesis and new ideas that require you to know so many things to, because like ideas are obviously just new ideas are just old ideas linked in interesting ways, basically. But they're saying that if you can get people to live 50 years more, the exponential curve of how much we learn and we know and we push, despite technology like computers and stuff, like that growth would be exponential, because we're passing on information later and later, and more scientists are more on the same level. There's a greater multitude of ideas. I just thought it was so interesting, like such an interesting thing. And the number of people who would have made incredible scientists who missed that boat and they got into their 30s and they thought, it's too late to start now. But they could have produced a ton for the scientific community. And it's like, if they're like, hey, you can live 50 extra years, do you want to start now? I mean, it'd be like, oh, hell yeah.
Well, hell yeah.
So like the sheer number of people who would just like on a professional level change the course of their life if giving an extra 50 years would be, again, exponential, astronomical. Because like I know me, if someone told me that I had 50 more years tacked on, good years, the course of my life would change dramatically and instantly, you know, like what I plan on doing and stuff. Super interesting. Just the ebb and flow of it. I don't know how else to call it.
Yeah, it's definitely something that could be a factor with life extension. And it might have to happen anyway, because we keep pushing the retirement age back in.
Yeah.
So
oh man, that life extension Russian guy. Do you know about this guy?
Maybe. I may have heard of it, but a name doesn't come to mind.
I'll see if I can find him. Billionaire, philanthropist. Oh man. Yeah, Dmitry Itskov, Russian billionaire and media Mongol, created the 2045 initiative, which brought 30 top Russian scientists on board to create an international research center specifically to study immortality. The 31-year-old president of New Media Stars, a Russian company that runs several online news outlets, has implored other billionaires to start funding cybernetic immortality and the artificial body. And that was like the initial thing, but now it's like all age extension. Like physical age extension, medical age extension, transfer of human consciousness into a remotely controlled avatar, synthetic brains. I mean, he's like one of the richest men in the world, and that's the only thing he cares about, and he's like 30 something. But yeah. He did like a keynote type thing. He basically was in a room with a bunch of billionaires, and he was trying to get more people on board. And someone asked him, how much would this cost? Like once we get the technology figured out, what are you going to charge for it? How are you going to charge people for it? And it's like he had this look on his face like he had never thought of that before. Like it had never occurred to him. Which I was like, oh, that's kind of positive, And then he was like, does it really matter? You'll have the rest of eternity to pay it off. I was like, oh.
Dude, yeah, so
I was like, oh shit. Never mind. Terrible.
It doesn't even have to be immortality. Just extreme life extension would drastically change so much about society that it would be unrecognizable, and we could hardly consider ourselves the same species at that point.
Yeah, I mean, if you're an early adopter, though, like get the benefit of living extra long without like before the problems of that start to really rear up. Be like, I'm gonna utilize this before the cost of everything starts going through the roof. It's like, yeah, we can get you on a 100-year mortgage plan. That's fine.
That's fine. 250 years at 0.5% interest.
Could you imagine that you're like, you're in a car accident, you're not super well insured, you're gonna die, and you get brought back to life, like from the brink. And when you open your eyes, you're seeing like a mortgage adjuster for your house. And they're like, nah, you still owe us 80 years. It's like, they don't let you die. They're like, no, man.
You got to work this shit off.
Yeah. Like
Well,
imagine like healthcare becomes so free and so open that it's like your debts are guaranteed. Like there's two things guaranteed in life: taxes and
more life.
taxes.
a lifetime to pay off your. So that's
Give us some pretty interesting corners of thought. I love talking and thinking about this stuff.
And you'd think so by that point, like we're already, our version of a developed country, right? Like birth rates have plummeted. We're below replacement. So with life extension, assuming that like why have kids when you can live for an extra 100 years and shit and enjoy all that time to yourself.
You wouldn't be allowed to have kids.
Yeah, it's like generational wealth couldn't be a thing anymore because it would just like everyone would become their own empire, like their own family empire that would never, the sun would never set on it,
I truly think that there would be like a much more thorough, what's the system called? When people go around door to door, how many people live in this house?
Oh, a census? Yeah.
A census. I think that there would be a census based on how many people have had the life extension. And at a certain point, it'd be like, all humans are sterile by default. And when a person expires by an accident, we can produce another human.
Like there's a lottery or something. Like
I almost imagine that at that point in technology, the human being would be produced by the government. Like it would.
So all right, I'm going to use
takes a village kind of thing.
I'm going to use that statement there to plug one of my favorite books. I would be lying if I didn't say that it was pretty influential to some of my thinking. Aldous Huxley's Brave New World. I mean, phenomenal book, way ahead of its time in predicting and talking about a lot of concepts and stuff. And one of those is, like, after the Third World War, they're like, okay, we can't have another world war. That would, I think it was Albert Einstein, but one of the scientists that said, like, World War III will be fought with nukes, World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones.
Yeah.
It's like they got lucky, and World War III, instead of them fighting World War IV with sticks and stones, they got out a little better and were like, okay, no, we just can't have any more world wars because we will annihilate ourselves. And so one of the things to do that they did is humans are no longer born naturally.
Yeah, it says Brave New World is a dystopian novel written in 1931. Oh wow.
Yes, yeah, it's old. That's what gets me, is it is so ahead of its time.
Largely set in a futuristic world state whose citizens are environmentally engineered into an intelligence-based social hierarchy. The novel anticipates huge scientific advancements in reproductive technology, sleep learning, psychological manipulation, and classical conditioning that are combined to make a dystopian society which is challenged by the story's protagonist. Huxley followed his book with a reassessment in essay form, Brave New World Revisited, which was published in 1958. And with his final novel, Island, in 1962, the utopian counterpart, this novel is often compared to George Orwell's 1984.
Some would say they're two sides of the same coin, but I lean more towards Brave New World. It's just far more fascinating to me.
1999, the Modern Library ranked Brave New World at number 5 on its list of the 100 best English language novels. Period.
Yeah, highly deserved. I think they made a movie quite a while ago, and then I think they made an Amazon Prime series for it too. I haven't watched it. I kind of don't want to.
Yeah,
but
don't ruin it.
but some of the concepts that they come up with the whole like the family unit is actually a bad thing. So if we get rid of mothers and fathers and just all children are raised communally, no one knows whose mother is who and whose father is who, and that sort of thing. You know, that embryos are chemically altered in like basically like birthing factories, where it's like, okay, if this human is slated to be a lower in the caste system, they will like put drops of alcohol in with the fetus to prompt like a fetal alcohol syndrome to stunt brain development.
So just so you know, there was a TV show made July 15th of 2022. There's 9 episodes and it got a 4.2 out of 5-star rating.
Yeah,
which
I saw some trailers and some clips, and I mean, it didn't look bad, but that's not what I would care about. Like, you know.
Yeah, I feel like if it was like true to the book, if it's a number 5, like, oh well, I don't know. Average audience score 80% compared to average. Yeah, I mean, okay, so the audience seems to like it.
I mean, and I would recommend, like, if you just don't read books, if you just can't anymore. I know with life the way it is, it can be really difficult.
Audiobooks,
yeah. If you can listen to an audiobook, but even if you can't do that, you know, if you got to watch something, I would still recommend watching it. Not for me, but just so you can have kind of those concepts popped in there, because it's so fascinating, the takes that they have and the characters that they introduce to kind of try and question things. Oh man, it's so good.
I'll give it a listen for sure. I was a big fan of, when you were talking about it, it sounded a lot like a book I had read when I was in high school, and I can't think of the name of it. This kid who had the memories of society because.
Oh, is that
the Keeper?
The Giver?
The Giver. Yeah.
Is what it was. Yep.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was it. I think they made a movie about it too. But yeah, that was I really. Oh, you know, The Island was made into a movie too. The Island was pretty good. But they have all those I really enjoy getting that like dystopian or utopian look. Because sometimes like the dystopian world stuff gets like crazy, like Mad Max crazy. But then sometimes you get a really good like almost scary utopian world, because the utopian world is always like sterilized and free will is not, you know, great. Like the humanity has been scrubbed out of humanity.
And that's again, that's such a good point in Brave New World, because they address that. It's like,
oh, okay, that's cool.
Okay, so, you know, one man's treasure is another man's trash. That whole thing kind of applies to utopia and dystopia. What's a utopia for some might be a dystopia for others. It's just not as cut and dry as, you know, pop
one
culture
is good, one is
makes
bad.
It out to be.
Yeah, no, and yeah, I love these topics so much. Such fun topics. I am, however, going to move on. Otherwise, I'm going to keep talking about it for the next hour and a half. And
I'm supposed to keep you on track.
I was going to say this. I know that like, it sounds like this is a topic we could both get deep into, but I'll keep an eye out for more stuff of that nature. Because I really enjoy researching that on my own. So it's fascinating. So do you remember CRISPR?
Yep.
CRISPR gene editing used to build a better forest tree for sustainable fiber production. I thought this was pretty neat. This was This article was written by North Carolina State University, July 27th or 17th, excuse me. So it was written today. Researchers at North Carolina State University have successfully applied CRISPR gene editing technology to breed popular trees with reduced levels of lignin, a significant barrier to the sustainable production of wood fibers. The research, which offers potential for more efficient, eco-friendly fiber production, was published in the journal Science. The findings hold promise to make fiber production for everything from paper to diapers greener, cheaper, and more efficient. Let's see here. Increasing ratios of stuff, building blocks of things. I don't understand any of that. What he said, though, is we're using CRISPR to build a more sustainable forest. Distinguished professor of food, bioprocessing, and nutrition science at, oh my goodness. Someone's title does not need to be 2 sentences long. CRISPR systems provide the flexibility to edit more than just single genes or gene families, allowing for greater improvement to wood properties. Where was the percentage? I saw a percentage on here earlier. The team utilized a machine learning model to predict and sort through almost 70,000 different gene editing strategies, targeting 21 important genes associated with lignin production, some changing multiple genes at a time. The process led to the identification of 347 strategies. More than 99% of those strategies targeted at least 3 genes. From there, the researchers selected the 7 best strategies that modeling suggested would lead to trees that would attain the chemical sweet spot. 35% less lignin than wild or unmodified trees. Ratios that were more than 200% higher than wild trees, this LC stuff, and SG ratios that were also more than 200% higher than wild trees. The tree growth rates that were similar to wild trees. It's pretty interesting. So they get into, things that I don't understand. Like, I don't know what LCL ratio is. So telling you that there was a 228% increase of LC ratio, I don't even know. I couldn't even tell you what the importance of that is, other than bigger number, better science, right? But there was a really cool statistic in here that I saw earlier. Is it this one? The efficiencies found in fiber production could reduce greenhouse gases associated with pulp production by 20%. If reduced lignin and increased CL and SG ratios are achieved in trees at an industrial scale. Multiplex genome editing provides a remarkable opportunity to improve forest resilience, productivity, and utilization at a time when our national resources are increasingly challenged by climate change and the need to produce more sustainable biomaterial using less land. So, I don't know. It just sounded cool. I feel like this is the sort of thing that wouldn't make it into the news to be like super exciting. But I personally have a really big soft spot for how many trees get cut down per year, like world round. And it's an absolutely bewildering number. So when I saw this, I was like, that's cool. Like, I'm glad that there are scientists out there who are trying to fix a tree problem. And if creating like weird genetically altered using gene editing strategies to make trees grow bigger and faster and produce more wood that's better for production for human consumption, if that means less natural trees in nature get used up, I'm all about it. I'm all for it. Grow some freaking mutant trees and cut those down.
As long as we can keep them either somewhat like sterile to the regular populations, and
Right.
not get some weird mutant hybrids.
Yeah, you don't want the trees to start eating kids.
Yeah,
That would be bad.
or any whomping willows.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want those mutant trees fucking my normal trees. You stay away from my normal trees. Yeah. It's like I am so interested in what research is going on out there, but so little of it is documented for public consumption because the public doesn't give a shit about it. So there's no reason for people to like make news out of it and look into and stuff.
Also, science journalism is notoriously crappy. Like, just overly sensationalist and not, like, clickbaity in, like, a bad way. Communicate poorly. I don't know. I'd rather people who care about it actually read, like, the scientific journals, the actual, like, white papers and stuff like that. It's far nerdier and far more boring, but it's better information.
I was trying to find the because it's important to me, the exact amount of acres we chopped down or have chopped down in like the past decade. I want to say it was like I don't want to say without knowing the exact number. Yeah, 20% of the Amazon has been cut in the past 50 years. The point at which the forest tropical climate dries out is between 20 and 25%. Isn't that nuts that we are now within the range of the forest starting to degrade themselves without our help? That is just bananas to me.
Yes.
Yeah, satellite data from 2018 revealed a decade-high rate of deforestation in the Amazon with approximately 3,100 square miles cut down between, what was it? I lost it. Between August 2017 and July 2018. 3,100 square miles in 1 year. And that was back in 2018. And it's like, I remember I had seen the actual number of the past 50 years, and I don't remember what it was, but I remember it being a larger amount of trees than the state I live in. It was like more landmass than my state. And I was like, just trying to make sense of it. The problem isn't so much just that obviously the trees getting cut down is a big problem, but that they replace them with palm oil trees and like nothing can live in those. They grow really fast. It's shit wood and nothing can live in them. So it's like, there's all this like counter talk where they're like, yeah, well, we're replacing the trees though. We're cutting them down, but we're planting more. So it's fine. And it's like, you're planting shit. You're planting garbage. It's not a forest anymore. It's, shit bugs me. Get me my soapbox. Yeah, the tree stuff makes me sad. Oh, hey, SK. Just saw you there. Welcome, welcome.
Oh, my windows. There we go.
I have not shared a single window with you yet.
It's
I
fine.
forgot. You didn't say anything.
I'm bringing stuff up. And I'm watching I've got the stream up on YouTube, so I can keep an eye on it too. So
that's okay, SK. As long as you're sorry, that's fine.
We forgive you.
But thank you for being appropriately apologetic. That's good. gross. Happy you're here. Happy you're here. Is this bad Glarp? Down. Someone get the squirt bottle. Heal.
Yeah, GMOs still come up. They fly under the radar a lot more than they used to. I think they've mostly become rather accepted. But I mean, they could still end up causing problems.
You know what? Sure. I don't want microplastics in my body. Like every time I know, it's like every time I think about I'm like, man, I don't know how I feel about all this genetically modified stuff. I don't, what could that do to my body? And then I stop and I'm like, I'd rather not have plastic in my blood. But even though those things have nothing to do with each other, it's like on a list of things I'm worried about. Can you please get the chemicals and the plastics and the metals out of my body, please?
Hey, look at it this way. Part of you will last forever.
Yeah. Eventually when they do cremations of people, there's just going to be like a brick, like a solid brick. Like, I thought I was going to get ashes. Nah. You're getting the leftover composite that is that used to be
molten plastic mixed with fucking soot.
Exactly. We're gonna be like piles of clinker. So
not metal.
As you guys can see on the screen, we have now switched over to the VR topic. I pulled this screen up. We don't have to start here per se. I'm actually quite out of the VR loop. I was kind of obsessed with VR for, I want to say like 7 years back. I got the HTC Vive Pro. I had it on pre-order, and then I had the Quest on pre-order, then I had the Quest 2 on pre-order. So like I was very on it at that time. I was doing a lot of cool things on the computer, forcing games to do VR that weren't supposed to and stuff, and setting up like Trucker Simulator in VR before it had VR support, stuff like that. But then I just kind of dropped it. It wasn't moving fast enough for me, and everything felt expensive and gimmicky, and I was like, maybe I'll give it a few years. Now it's like 7 years later. It doesn't feel like we've really moved very much. And it's it seems like when things move at a certain pace, it's like kind of hard to want to care, sort of thing, like the development of Star Citizen. It's just so slow that you lose interest. How about you, Sage? How do you feel about it?
So things that are gimmicky for the experience, I'm going to be biased. They have a special place in my heart. One of the original reasons I built my first computer that was all my own, the reason I chose some of the parts that I chose was because I was super excited about NVIDIA's 3D vision technology for the 3D vision glasses. It's like you had to have, this was when like 120 hertz monitors were kind of crazy.
Okay.
Like, why would anyone want a 120 hertz monitor? Because it's like that you could do 3D without the blue and red.
Was that like 9 years ago?
No, that was longer.
It was longer? I was trying to remember because I feel like I remember people putting on glasses and playing like Diablo 2.
So, okay, I don't think Diablo 2 is really where it was at. So, one of the games that was actually phenomenal, there were two games that were phenomenal for the experience, and I loved it. Playing Oblivion with the NVIDIA 3D vision was great. Everything, just the way the art style was not too like crazy and stylized where it caused like artifacts and issues, but the geometry of areas was kind of pointy enough that everything stood out really nicely in 3D. Like it was a really good effect, really noticeable, felt nice, looked nice. The other game that was phenomenal was actually World of Warcraft. For similar reasons, like World of Warcraft back in 2011, it could run on a potato.
Right.
and so it wasn't super demanding. You could get a really good effect going without a high-end computer. I did have a high-end computer, but you didn't really even need it. The bigger cost to entry in that was actually the monitor, getting a 3D vision monitor. But it was so cool, but it was such a unique experience, such a low-volume thing, that NVIDIA dropped support for the drivers, and then some game updates happened where now it's just like it doesn't work anymore. So even though I'm using a 3D vision monitor, and the reason I still keep my Windows 7 installation on another drive is because that has the drivers, the last driver from NVIDIA that actually supports 3D vision. And cool. The video card that I have is in the last generation that supports that driver that supports 3D vision. So when I do build a new computer, yes, because it's so cool. And it's what the next evolution to that VR is. Like VR is the next evolution of that. Because that's just like, yes, it's tied to your screen. Like it's 3D, and you can play around with like the separation and stuff to get the 3D effect the way you want it. And the games that supported it well, like it was just great. There were even like Command and Conquer 3, Tiberium War. That was cool. Not Smite. There was a game kind of like League of Legends that was actually really cool for that. But like it was basically a dead technology because no one cared about it. Well, very few people cared about it. It had kind of a high barrier to entry. And honestly, it was one of those things it's very hard to advertise. And VR has the same problem. Because the best advertisement is for someone to try it. Because you can't film it, Like you film someone like wearing the glasses, and it's like, wow, look at that dork,
Yeah, even the VR with this green screen behind you, and you're doing like the crossover tracing that they do with Beat Saber, where they try to line up the footage of what they're seeing with kind of how they're standing. I mean, I've seen some people try to do it, especially for streaming purposes. And it always looks weird. It looks funky. But then from the first person standpoint, it's almost like nauseating. Because they're whipping their heads around and stuff. Yeah, I agree. It's hard to advertise without just putting the headset on somebody.
It's very hard to advertise.
When I was the marketing manager at Amped Reality, Virtual Reality Arcade, this was years ago now. When we had people come in who just wanted to see what the place was, I always was like, hey, do you want to try it for free for 10 minutes? Try it for free for 15 minutes. Because it was like people were so like the chance that they would actually pay to play for an hour like went up dramatically if you just got the headset on one of them.
You just got to give them a little bit of crack. Just a little bit of crack.
The first one's free. First one's free.
But yeah, that's a big thing in VR's benefit. Because that really wasn't a thing for, like, I think maybe Best Buy for like 1 week out of a year. I think they had a demo for the VR glasses. But we actually have arcades. We actually have in the mall up here where I live, we have a little VR arcade. And I went and I've been there 3 times, I think, before getting my own headset. Because it was just such a cool experience to play around and have and have fun. It's about just such a different experience that you have to try. The best marketing for it is just giving it a try. And with prices coming down, because that was the other problem with like the first couple generations of like hardware and headsets that came out, like dropping $1,000 on the HTC Vive set for everything, you just can't. Most people can't do that. They're not going to do that. It's just not feasible. But when Meta released the Quest 2 for, I think its original price was $299, like boom, that is a sweet spot.
Yeah.
Then they bumped the price up, which kind of, I think, outside of like the Black Friday sale, which brought it back down temporarily. That was kind of stupid of them. And they've made some other business decisions more on like the software end and like what games they support that have not been great.
Right.
But outside of that, like the value proposition for the Oculus, that's phenomenal. The Oculus 2, and that value is only going to get better because they did with the impending release of the Oculus 3. Like that value proposition is only going to get better. Like especially if you don't mind picking up a used headset, like you'll be able to pick up an Oculus 2 in good shape with the controllers, hopefully for like $200. Once people start buying the 3 and upgrading or handing down their or whatever. That's what I'm pretty much planning on getting the Oculus 3 when that comes out, and my wife can have my old headset and we can screw around with that.
I didn't really get into it very much. Like I had my games that I played. I did mostly basic shit like Beat Saber and stuff. But when what was it? I played on a Valve Index. A friend of mine got a Valve Index, and he had the knuckles. So it was like you moved your fingers around, and your character's fingers moved around, and got to play Half-Life Alyx with that, and it like totally reset my expectations for VR. That's like kind of playing like the best game on the best equipment, so it's not a great representation of like what is normal, but the experience of like having a zombie like lumbering towards me, and I like reach out with my hands instinctually and grab like a shelf and put the shelf in front of me, and I'm holding the shelf with my left hand as this zombie's like reaching its arms, almost like through the shelf trying to get to me. And then I reach down and I'm trying to grab my gun, and I can't, I'm not getting my hand in the right spot because I'm like kind of panicking. And then when I pull the gun out, I reach my hand out and I put my hand through the metal shelf unit I'm holding onto and start shooting the zombie through the shelving unit. And that it was all very natural. It was like I was actually panicking a bit, and I just tried to just do something, like that fight or flight kicked in, and I was in my back was to the wall, and it's like part of your brain is kind of like, I hope I can grab this shelf, like I hope this does what I want it to. But as soon as the shelf kind of gave way, those kind of almost natural instincts kicked in. And then he booted up a Skyrim, and it had like a ridiculous amount of mods that kind of improve the VR experience. And I had my bow, and this dude shot at me, and I'm like hiding behind a tree. The arrow hits the tree. I yank the arrow out of the tree, notch it, and kill him with his own arrow. And I'm like, this is it. We're almost there, like, like we're just about there.
Yeah, no, I think this next generation of hardware, including the Apple Vision, as much as I hate it, I think this next generation is going to be the generation. Like it's
like everything else was kind of like a beta leading up to the real thing.
As long as the software support and the like actual game support is going to be there this generation, because people will be able to get, if they really want to try it on a budget, they can get an old Quest 2. The Quest 3 is going to be the value, though, the value proposition for anyone who wants to actually get into VR on a more regular basis outside of just trying it. Like, if you don't have a an arcade near you that has a VR thing like we do to try it, a used Quest 2, you and your buddies, you can hand it to your buddies and be like, yeah, check this out. You can check out Blade and Sorcery. I think that was the one I had.
That's a damn good one. Blade and Sorcery.
I had so much fun with that one. And then the spatial computing. What Apple's touting with their $3,500 AR headset thing. Like that's going to be its own kind of tier, more professional and whatnot. But I mean,
right.
It's Apple, so people will get it as a status symbol and shit like that. And I'm not going to say it doesn't have a use case, but it is ridiculous. No, the $500 price point and the $1,000 price point is, I think, where consumers are going to particularly congregate. So yeah. I'm hoping Valve will release like a Vive 2 or whatever, like an actual, not a Vive Pro, or HTC would do the Vive. What was the Index? An Index 2. Yep. An Index 2. Shortly after, maybe a year from the Apple Vision Pro, because those are going to be the two things. It's like, if you want to have a very responsive, very enjoyable time, the I keep wanting to say Oculus, and it's Meta now, and it keeps tripping me up. The Quest 3, that's going to be the go-to. It's $500. The only other option that's going to be better is if you've already spent $500 on a PS5, and you're going to spend more money on the PSVR 2 for it. Like, that's going to be great too. But
I'm kind of thinking that I think that the next Valve Index, I think, is going to be significantly cheaper, but I think it's going to rely completely on the computer and not go I think the Quest route of being fully disconnected and staying at that $500 price point. I think the Valve Index is going to go the same way, the same price point, but it will require the computer to run, to be like, you're the main maker of the largest kind of consumer demographic for VR, and we're like the high-end gaming version of it. But if they charge the same price point, I think their market share would be big enough that it would make sense.
Maybe. I don't. It a lot depends on, because the controller design is huge for the Index. That's a significant part of the price, is the controller design, as well as having the lighthouses, which the Meta Quest 3 with its inside-out tracking and its full color pass-through. It's just.
Yeah, but I think the Index 2, I think that's what they were talking about, was that it would all be in the headset, that you wouldn't need sensors anymore.
Yeah, as long as they still make them optional for like greater precision,
right?
That would be good, because there are so many other kind of accessories that can be added to that's the environment that is going to push VR to the next level.
I'm pretty sure that just like the I wish I could remember what it was called. Yeah, I think them having they're not the same boxes. They're not the HTC Vive boxes. It's now a strip with like 3 lenses on it. Mm-hmm. And you only have to put 2 up. You put 1 on either side of your space instead of in like the upper and lower corners, but I can't think of what they're called. And they're not infrared and all that anymore, or whatever the Vive Pro ones were. They're not the boxes, they're like a strip. But but they're supposed to be like way more precise. Let's get through some of these new peripherals. Newer. I don't know if they're not really new. So the first thing, obviously controllers. So basically the way that I set these up are like, this is almost like the requirement for me to be like truly invested and truly excited about VR is truly the peripherals. I don't actually really care about the visual too much. Visually, the technology is going to get there no matter what, because that's like the selling point is the lens that you're looking through. How long can you stay inside of it without getting like nauseous and shit? The computing power, not having to deal with latency, the fidelity, like all of that's going to come no matter what. We don't really need to look into that because we know it's just going to get better.
Yes.
I mean, I feel like that's fair.
That's on point. Yep, that's literally what is happening.
So for me personally, it's all about the peripherals. It's all about the extras, that the immersion of it. Because VR in and of itself, no matter how good it looks and no matter how responsive it is, the experience is not good enough for me at a base. You give me like 2 4K, was it 100? What frames does it have to be? It has to be like over 60, right? It has to be like 120.
Well, the thing is, so each eye has to be getting like at least 60, and I think most of them are actually trying to deliver like 72 or 74.
Right, so that way if there is lag, you don't notice it, right?
Or it's easier to deal with.
Because I mean, anyone who's tried VR, you know that when that headset malfunctions, it fucks you up. Like even just like a quick stutter every now and then can just, I mean, at least for me, it can make me sick as shit. And if it starts flashing or it pauses and the screen freezes, but I'm still moving, I have to take the headset off because I'm totally fucked up.
The focus needs to be on performance consistency.
Yeah, it has to be. And if we get to the point, or I should say, when we get to the point that it's like 4K in each eye at 120 or some shit, we will get there no matter what. Even if the market in general doesn't buy into it on the level that would need to be for larger companies to focus on it and make more games for it and experiences for it, it's going to happen anyway, no matter what. So first, the controllers, big issue for me. And after trying the knuckles, the Valve Index knuckles, now it's almost like hard for me to use a controller because I know what it can be. With my Quest 2, I very frequently, as often as I can, I put it in the freehand mode where it's tracking my actual fingers. It doesn't work that great, but any game that it does work okay in, I much prefer to just have my hands. Obviously, you lose buttons and stuff, which fucks with your locomotion, but we'll get into that. So this company called Manus makes a glove called the Manus Quantum Precision XR. And I thought this was really cool because it doesn't have that gigantic contraption on the back of the hand. If any of you guys have ever seen that before, it's like this, it's like these little metal arms that come from each finger. And what that's supposed to do is simulate resistance in your grip because it'll fight against your hand. I don't think this has that. I don't think this has that resistance. But I thought this, for one, it looks cool as shit. I think it looks cool. The Quantum Precision XR provides high-fidelity finger tracking by using drift-free fingertip tracking sensors with the focus on high accuracy and reliable finger capture data. There are no more limitations to your finger capture experience accuracy in VR like never before. No drift scaling. Pretty cool. They look... I mean, I feel like this is just how things are going to look. I imagine eventually those wires will be, I don't know, fiber optic and thread through a glove or something. I kind of like this more than a glove, though. So your hand doesn't sweat? Like, just having it on the fingertips might actually be nice. Not sure. Look at this. Look at the precision on this, though. Isn't that nuts? It's fantastic. Technical specifications, sensor sample rate is 120 hertz. Pretty cool. I wanted to bring this one up first because to me, this is just, it's like, this is available. It's a Type-C plug-in. Takes 2 hours. What is this? Charging time, 2 hours. Battery duration, 3 hours. Batteries are swappable. So it's like you're not like ultra wired up your arms and shit. And I just I don't know. I really I was very impressed with this one. Super impressed. What was the price on this? I don't even know if it has the price on it. Yeah. So the price on this one, this was the one we were looking at, is 5,000 euros. I was trying to say it without sounding, and they have this one, which is better. This is the Quantum Meta Glove for 7,500 euros. Freaking ridiculous, man. A lot of the gloves that they sell are not VR though, so maybe this one's not a VR one. A lot of what they do is also mocap stuff. Oh no, this is the mocap stuff down here. So they do have are these all VR? I don't know, it doesn't say. Look at this one though. 10,000 euros for this glove.
With proper software support, anything that's motion capture should be usable by VR.
Right. Yeah, I think these have like just extra things for like making games and that sort of thing. Where this is like, obviously this one has the haptic feedback. What was this one called? Prime 3? Quantum Prime 3 haptic. So this is the one where you can feel stuff. High fidelity hand tracking, ultra lightweight integrated haptics, comfortable and unobtrusive. Free to perform your full range of motion without breaking immersion. Does that mean that you can feel stuff with this? It says haptic. Haptic means you can feel, right?
Well, it will vibrate or it will simulate. It'll have some kind of thing that it will do to indicate that you are like gripping an object.
Oh, and this has finger tracking and all that. Yeah, it's probably just less precise than the fingertips one. But yeah, being able to feel little vibrations in your hand. I imagine when he shoots the gun, yeah, it probably just acts like a rumble pack, but also tracking finger movements. Also wireless. Pretty cool. Like, it's obviously like, who's dropping, what was this one? 3,000? Yeah. Who's dropping $3,000 for a glove? Fucking nobody. I mean, unless you're developing something, unless you have a budget, or a budget has been given to you. But the reason I bring this up is like, I think this Prime 3 Haptic XR, I think this is basically what we're looking at is the prototype for the average VR controller. Like, I believe this is where, if not next generation, the generation after, but I actually believe this is next generation. But that's maybe just hopeful wishing.
We will have to see what comes of the Apple headset, because it doesn't have controllers. It actually uses the cameras on the headset to track the hands.
Yeah, but this has got the haptic feedback. That's what I'm pointing out, is like for gaming. So the immersion.
But what I'm saying is for like value, if these sensors on the headset can do like most of the heavy lifting with the tracking, and how much cheaper would the glove be if it was just for haptic feedback?
Oh,
and not
I see what you're saying.
Having to do, yeah.
Probably ridiculous. I mean, the value of the glove is in the tracking, probably way more than the feedback. I feel like is almost like an easy, like I almost feel like you could DIY if it's just a rumble packs with pinpoints.
That could be like a $300 accessory, easy.
Yeah.
Accounting for low volume. If it picked up and became like a high volume item, then maybe like 180.
I could definitely see that if all the headsets went into the direction of tracking hands and you just didn't need a controller or a glove, then it would have to be an add-on because there'd be no reason to add it to the cost. Like a rumble pack that isn't a controller, I don't think would be something anyone would try to sell with the headset. Yeah, I think it would be an optional accessory. So one of my favorite things was the looking into omnidirectional tracks, and I actually got to test some out when I was working at the VR arcade. We didn't have any in the arcade, but we went to like shows and stuff. This thing is cool. My biggest problem with all these omnidirectional tracks have always been that the amount of pressure you have to put on the disc was so much that like running was really hard to do because you kind of felt like you had to push your feet down like hard against. And then basically, if you look at his feet closely, you'll see that he actually has something over top of his shoes that is reducing the amount of friction his shoe has on the disc. So this is not something you can do in your bare feet, and it's not something you can really do in your shoes. It's something better done with like your socks but the weird thing is it's reducing friction, but you kind of need the friction to move. But this one,
you
not
need
so much.
Just the right amount.
This one actually is just tracking the movement of the feet across the surface, and nothing is actually moving on the surface. It's just tracking his feet sliding, basically their position. It's got this arm that has a 360 whip around, so when he spins his body, this arm spins as well. Let me, we'll just pop the trailer up with this music that I can't play. And what is that? That's a quest, right? Yeah, he's just got a normal quest on in there. He walks, his character moves. So in my mind, the omnidirectional track was going to be a flat rectangle that was basically a bunch of miniature treadmills that pushed you towards the center when you moved. Like it could detect your movement and push you back towards the middle of it, which would take up a pretty insane amount of space in like your living room or whatever. But they already have treadmills that have no bars and no handles and stuff, and that you don't actually set the speed on, that it can tell how fast you're moving, and it will speed up the belt to match your speed, but it only goes in one direction. And they're insanely expensive. But I do find this thing to be very interesting. I feel like for an FPS shooter where you're sprinting around all the time, I think it would kill you. I think people would just die of exhaustion. But for a game like Skyrim, I could see this being awesome. A game where you're not sprinting everywhere all the time, doing some melee combat. That's the biggest thing with VR for me. I get so exhausted playing VR. VR is exhausting. Then you got to play like Star Trek Bridge Crew to kind of break up the time. So yeah, I thought this thing was pretty neat. It's pretty cool. The way that this arm works, I think, is genius. And you didn't get to see a lot in the video, but it does not impede your movement like at all. It doesn't look like anyway. Obviously, I think the only thing you really can't do is you can't belly crawl with it. Compact, 4-foot diameter, full freedom movement, easy to assemble, includes a standalone VR headset, currently shipping with Pico Neo 3 Pro. I don't even know what the heck that is.
That's a VR headset mostly sold in the UK.
Huh, okay. 30 top games available at launch. So obviously, when we start getting into these peripherals, the games have to support the peripherals. Just the way it is, there's really not much in the way of like plug and play. It doesn't just go, especially when it comes to movement, when it comes to the locomotion. We're currently shipping beta units to our investor community, so this is not even like on the market currently. But I think this is a good direction as far as like a regular consumer model. I think this is a really good direction to go. What do you think, Sage?
Yeah, absolutely. The more accessories, the more development that goes into things like this, even if it's proving a market out, is still beneficial, because it'll push like where development needs to happen and how it needs to happen. Like, does it need to become affordable for regular consumers? Is it going to be like a business to business or specialty field thing, like for medical or military? And a lot of that it's cringe as it is to say, it's going to be kind of like trickle down economics, like you will see
Right.
these innovations do something. They will improve consumer level stuff to some degree.
I got this feeling that someone's going to release some wealthy indie company or some large company is going to make basically like Second Life in VR, where you can move as fast or as slow as you want. You can play the game sitting, you can play the game standing. Like it's truly a sandbox in all regards, but it's also like building buildings and buying and selling land and that sort of thing. I feel like something like that is going to hit and gain intense popularity. It's almost like you have to reinvent the chat room. And we saw this with VR chat, right?
Yeah, that's basically kind of what they're angling for.
If you can get to a place where you have kind of virtual real estate, I hate saying that, virtual real estate, you've got a larger game, a bigger MMO style, you can go to like different servers that are built by people. People are building things, building fashion, building buildings, making up games to play, that sort of thing. I think once you have that environment and it becomes somewhere that people want to be all the time, but it's accessible to everybody, I think that's going to be when shit like this really hits.
What you're saying is that VR chat and Roblox need to have a merger.
But with better graphics, yeah.
That would do it, though. That's the idea, yeah.
Yeah, because I think that once you have that, socially, when you want to hang out in a chat room, that's how it started. That's how the whole internet started. The whole internet began with Yahoo Chat. MSN Messenger started the internet, because you had a space where different people from across the world could connect and share, digital spaces, digital ideas and stuff. SK is saying Rec Room. I think Rec Room's great, a good example, but you got to mix Rec Room with people being given the tools to create their own emergent entertainment. So not like the tools are there and you're building based on like pre-designed modules and stuff, but like if someone wants to build a nightclub and they're known for their virtual nightclub, and then you have a person who's a DJ in real life and he cranks up his computer volume into his headset and to produce music for the nightclub, like they did in Final Fantasy 14. This happened. People bought houses and built spaces that other people could hang out in. So now you have more people playing Final Fantasy 14 as a glorified chat room than are playing the actual story of the game. And they're logging back in mass by the millions. But still, that's still too niche.
Well, it's the platform. Like VR is still too niche.
Yeah.
Like you are getting people there that are interested in it, but it's not at that mass adoption yet. And that's where I think the value of the cheaper headsets are really going to improve that.
Okay. I guess I didn't know Rec Room was that in depth.
It is free to VR, like on the Meta store, or
because if you
Steam?
guys, I think Rec Room is across the board. I think it's everywhere. Because when I think about Second Life, and I played it for only a very short period of time, it's like there's no limit to, like, people were rebuilding entire cities, like whole cities, and you could have hundreds of people. I remember the first time, like, I logged in and people were looking at me like, you look like a noob, you need to go get a skin. I'm like, I don't know what that means. And they're like, I'll take you to a shopping mall. And they had to give me a code, and that code led me to a server that, like, a dozen or so players had turned into a shopping mall. And then other players had rented out shopping mall spaces to sell clothing that they had designed outside of the game, like 3D models, and imported into the game for other people to wear. And then there was skins, which were like bodies that you had to purchase. But then basically all the places I went was to get free stuff. So I had to buy hair, I had to buy skin, I had to buy clothing, and I got basically everything for free because I just went to these freebie places that people knew about. So I still looked kind of noobish, but I didn't look fresh off the, fresh login new. And people were like checking to see if I had eyebrows, because if you have eyebrows, they're not as a good indicator if you're new or not. And I'm like, it's so weird. But like, yeah, people were walking around looking like furries and stuff. Like, it just, you could really make your character look how you wanted. And I'm like, I'm imagining that sort of shit in VR is going to, like, just totally change it, how people receive it, how people interact with it. Because I know it's just like a blank canvas.
I know that VR, like VR chat especially, but that sort of genre of VR media is definitely finding a place with people who are questioning their identity, because it provides a very relatively easy way to explore that sort of thing.
Oh yeah, for sure. When I played the VR, I found an avatar that was a VR chat. I was just kind of messing around, but then I started getting really into it real quick. And I found this very short, cat character. And I really enjoyed playing this 3 foot tall cat person. He had a little jacket and some shorts, and I really liked him. Because, I don't want people, interacting with me in a weird way. I don't really like the, in real life, I don't like to be touched at all. I don't want anyone touching me ever. I don't even really friends hugging me and stuff. I just don't like it. So, me playing this critter, people would pat me on the head and stuff, and that didn't really bother me. But no one was getting weird close with me or weird, weird whatever with me. So what's next? Oh yeah. So this is obviously the big one, especially for stuff for VR chat. The haptic feedback suit, the ability for someone in the world to brush your arm and you feel it. So we have gloves that can produce the sensation of grip by resisting the back of your fingers. You have some haptic feedback on there, but you move your fingers, they move. You move your head, it tracks. We have an omnidirectional track, so you don't need a controller to walk around. You just walk and you're moving. Then you can do your hand gestures and you can look around. Now, being able to feel it takes it to a totally different level. And I didn't realize how far we were with the haptic suits until I saw this. So we'll check this out. Hopefully there's no music. If there is, we'll deal with it because it's too good not to.
Are you kidding me? That's insane. Are games supposed to hurt? If you've ever played Halo or Call of Duty or really any game with violence, you've likely been shot hundreds of thousands of times within the game, yet you've never
Hopefully you guys
felt
can hear it okay. Let me know if you
one of
can.
them. But what if you could feel pain? And what if that pain was actually painful? And to push this idea even further, what if you were in virtual reality, in a simulation where you can watch your body receive pain firsthand? If this tech existed, would you put yourself in pain to heighten your immersion? This isn't a science fiction hypothetical question. This is a real proposition because this technology already exists, and not just for businesses. This capability is coming to us, typical consumers, this year in the form of haptic electrostimulation suits to wear within virtual reality. Suits that deliver shocks of pain intense enough to make your...
By the way, I was expecting the first round of haptic suits to be bulky. I thought they were going to be quite bulky, like wearing
Not like a literal vest.
like not like what he's wearing right now is one. It's a shirt. It's like a skin tight shirt. And I was not at all expecting that. I definitely thought it was going to be like a bulletproof vest with like plates in it kind of thing. So this blew me away. I haven't seen this whole video, but I've seen some of these things he's wearing.
Your entire body cringe and lose control over your limbs. Of course, it does more than that. And today, I get to show you everything that's coming or already here regarding electrostimulation technology for VR. Luckily, at the Consumer Electronics Show this year, I was given a private demo of the Tesla suit, probably the most advanced haptic suit in the world, as well as a demonstration of the OO skin. Pretty much a Tesla suit, but lacking some of the more sophisticated features. More importantly, though, the OO skin is set to launch this year to consumers at a consumer level pricing. Here is a first-hand look into
The OO suit. Write it down because that's going to be the
before we
one.
get started, I want to give a short rundown on haptic technology within VR just to tell you where we're at right now. I've covered all sorts of haptics ranging from haptic vests to force feedback gloves, haptic.
And by the way,
wrists,
this video
ankle
was made
sleeves. Just about all
1
of
year
these
ago.
Devices use vibration motors to convey what is happening
So
in
we've
VR to your
come a
body.
little further.
The haptics vest, for example, has 40 small motors throughout the device, and say in game you're shot from behind you, the motors in that affected area will vibrate. This is already decently affordable and works well to increase immersion, but to be totally honest, it's not a realistic sensation, just as much as a controller vibrating doesn't actually feel like the entire floor is crumbling. It is a way to increase immersion through sensation, but the vests I'm about to show you are not vibration-based haptic devices. They instead use electrostimulation. Throughout the Tesla suit and OO skin are a set of dry electrodes that make direct
Dry electrodes. So to me, that's like, guys, Sage, do you remember the suction cup thing? They'd put suction cups, people would put suction cups on them and they'd like increase like frequency and it'd like shock their muscles.
Yeah.
I think it's that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's like,
That's how you do it thin.
and those you can buy commercially for sure, retail. Excuse me. So because when I heard them talking about this electrode stuff, I was like, I feel like that wouldn't be legal to sell. But then I'm like, well, no, there's devices out there that electrocute the shit out of you that you could wire your body up with.
There are fetishes.
I mean, yeah, there's that too. But this, it's like, obviously this is like not something you want to throw on a 12-year-old.
I mean, maybe you do.
Maybe you do. I don't know. I'm not your kid's dad. Do what you want.
contact with your skin. Through these electrodes, electrical pulses are sent to simulate your muscles.
And I think this is genius because this is how they can make it like shirt tight because they don't take up any space at all. And you know, I don't think there's any real limit to the number of these you could put in the suit.
To contract involuntarily. This historically has been used for all sorts of applications from
I mean you could basically think of it like Under Armour, right? You could be more than just a suit. You could line like leggings with it. You could
everything. Your gloves, per finger, back of your neck. yeah, I mean, they're and because I think with electrical frequency you have a way higher level. You have a wider range of precision that you can deal with. So if I push in one spot on your avatar, maybe that spot lights up hard, and the areas very close to it light up a little hard, and the areas close to that light up, very softly. So you get like a range of pressure. If I put like my 5 fingers of my palm against you in the VR space, like you'd feel my whole hand, but those points of greater pressure, maybe it just amp it up. It's very interesting. It's interesting to think that someone out there is designing sensation using code that is controlling electricity, that is zapping you.
That's pretty wild.
What a job, like what a job. what a thing to have to learn how to do.
When you connect immersive technologies like virtual reality and a full bodysuit of these eSTEM electrodes and bring them together through software.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, see? The whole body's wired up there. Shins, calves, buttocks, abdomen, shoulders, forearms.
So that stimuli within a simulation has a real physical impact on your muscles and skin, and I think most importantly, even though it's not the organ being stimulated, the brain. First, I'll start with the Tesla suit, which by the way was a fluke that I even got a demo at all. After CES, I found myself at a random bar for a VR industry meetup where I met the Tesla suit guys, and they gave me a demo on the spot, so thanks to them, of course. The Tesla suit is an insane piece of hardware with 80 electrostimulation channels, built-in full-body tracking, and a full suite of
built-in full-body tracking. That's pretty important. That's a pretty sizable feature. It's like what the glove does, but it's the whole body.
Biometric monitors through
Yep.
galvanic skin sensors, giving the user and software control over all of it. Right now, the primary use for the Tesla suit ranges from general enterprise training solutions to athletic purposes, hazardous duty simulation like firefighting or police training, and muscle rehabilitation. So basically all enterprise, which makes sense because this suit costs anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000, not exactly in the range of most consumers. And just to be clear, you don't always have to be in constant pain while wearing something like this. Before you get into whatever software you're going to be running, a calibration process is ran that sets the suit's low and high thresholds. Depending on the application, this can be as low as a very light tickle to tapping sensation to completely losing control over your arm or feeling like you just got punched in the gut. I had the Tesla suit guys crank up the settings as far as they could, and here was my reaction. And I know it's pretty hard to actually show on camera since there's no sound of haptic motors or electricity, but the shock being sent through my arm made moving it nearly impossible. And apparently the suit is strong enough to nearly fully simulate being tased, which I'm sure is great for some applications, but it doesn't always have to be.
You imagine playing Grand Theft Auto like online and someone tases you and it actually tases you?
Yeah?
Like, or like you're shooting in like a shooter and someone lights up the backside of your arm and like you literally lose control of the gun because your arm hurts so bad or it's getting locked up. That's gonna be
something for immersion, all right.
Oh man, playing like Skyrim and someone drags a sword across your chest and it actually makes you like wince. Ooh. Boxing games with other people.
Be such a painful experience.
Oh, it's setting. I was thinking like Skyrim. It's like, what if someone lit you on fire with fire magic? Like just feeling it all over, like kind of randomly, like just
lightning, using a lightning spell on you. Just,
actual lightning. Well, that would make sense. Yeah.
It's like you're like literally can't fight back because it just hurts so bad. Get shot in the back with an arrow. It's funny because like in video games now we have this culture of like if you're playing co-op with somebody, like you might shoot him in the back. Like shoot your ally in the back just for fun. Shoot him in the shoulder.
This happens, Don't
but
worry
like,
about it.
Imagine, Sage, you and I are playing a game like 7 Days to Die, right? And you got a zombie coming at you, and I launch an arrow at him, and I accidentally shoot you in the ass. Like to actually see your avatar jump, to see you actually like shit, something got my ass. Just I don't know if it would make trolling less frequent or more frequent.
It would make it entertaining. That's the important thing.
For sure. Especially since, like, imagine like you get shot in the shoulder with an arrow and it zaps you like kind of hard at first. And then there's like a low tier zapping because the arrow's still stuck in your avatar's shoulder. And when you yank it out, it stops. You know, shit like that. Oh, so good. Shuriken stuck in your chest and you can feel it.
Suit consisted of rain.
Yeah, 'cause it just kind of continues as like a dull
arrow in your back and you can't reach it. And you're like trying to get to it and you can't see it. And you're like, someone help. Like, oh, let me get that for you, Sage. Sorry, buddy.
All right, 3, 2, 1. As you yank it out, like, gotta actually brace yourself.
You could do good games. Oh man.
Yeah.
I wonder. Oh, I don't know if I want. I mean, you know, trigger warning, everybody. Sexual stuff. Can you imagine someone trying to sue someone else for sexual assault?
Okay.
In VR.
Because you kind of brought it up, there is an API for what is called teledildonics.
Teledildonics. Okay.
Teledildonics. Because there are sex toys that can be controlled via Bluetooth.
Yeah, remotely controlled over the internet.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, there's definitely room for litigation to
Well, I'm just thinking
to be
like
introduced.
I'm thinking like more low tier than that. Just you're wearing a haptic suit. I know you're wearing a haptic suit, and I just reach up and grab your avatar's ass, and you actually feel me grab your ass.
Like, what do you do about it?
But did I actually grab your ass?
Like,
and if you didn't want your ass grabbed, why did you make it look so juicy?
why did you choose that avatar?
right. It's not my fault.
Oh my god!
You dolled yourself up so much.
Christ!
Oh man, I'm trying so hard to do it with a straight face. I can't do it.
I don't know, like as long as blocking people is a capability and stuff like that. Like,
I mean, yeah, if you don't want your ass grabbed, you just turn those sensors off, right? Get them peaches.
Oh my god.
Just doing like ass checks on everybody until someone jumps and you're like, you're wearing a suit. Not good. The future is going to be strange.
Feeling little pinpricks of imaginary
Stranger.
Oh, hey, he's got those gloves on that I was talking about where it simulates resistance on the hand. So if you grip the handle of something, it will lock your hand as it's getting closer to the shape of the object. So if you grab a ledge, it'll lock in place. And if you push down on the ledge, it will try to bend your fingers up. It's such a cool thing. Obviously, it's going to feel way different because the pressure's not coming from below, it's coming from behind. But I imagine, you know, someone like you swing your sword at someone and they parry it and they hit it with enough force that the glove opens your hand and you end up dropping your sword or something like that. I bet you that'd be super interesting.
Water hitting my chest, really kind of trippy in itself, but the demo ended with people at the bar coming over to punch me with a mouse click in the name of science and reporting on the Tesla suit. But there's another fascinating thing about electrostimulation. It does some funky stuff to the brain. And not just due to the perception of being shocked, but the chemicals released by the brain can positively affect mood, leading to a more sociable demeanor, heightened memory, and heightened brain synchronization. And that was basically the extent of my Tesla suit demo. I wasn't able to get in VR with the Tesla suit, and I don't do that until the OWO skin, but even from my short time getting shocked to hell, I'm absolutely intrigued as to how my brain will interpret something flying at me in VR and feeling pain on impact. But for now, let's get back to the convention center and take a look at OWO. So, OWO is interesting. I'm sure you already put the two together with the name, and I did ask the CEO about this.
Everything in OWO is wow. Oh,
Right.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, no, it makes total sense, yeah.
And apparently it's the sound you make when putting the skin on and trying it. Oh, whoa. But memes aside, the OO skin is special because while the Tesla suit has full body tracking and biometrics, it's also $20,000. OO, on the other hand, is set to ship to consumers for under $500 this year.
Under $500. Sage, it's happening. It's
Yeah.
happening. And what's fucking weird is that what we're about to see is what, 1/6 the price of the glove that we looked at? Now, granted, this does not have the tracking. I do think the tracking is the expensive part. It's got to be.
And it already works
Because, like, this thing isn't really made out of a lot. Obviously, the software that runs it has got to be where the value comes from more so than the suit.
I would
in
imagine, yeah.
VR, either PC VR or Quest standalone by itself. And it's no slouch. Similar to Tesla, it has a tight fit to get the electrodes to touch your skin directly, and the process to calibrate is extremely similar, going through the low and high threshold of electrical strength. And even though the OO skin is significantly smaller and lighter, it still packs a punch. Turning the maximum threshold strength up all the way was equally muscle tensing compared to the Tesla suit. But what got me were two different demos. One simulating shooting a gun, and every time the gun goes off, a jolt of electricity goes up your bicep, and it's a really convincing
That's so
simulated
cool.
recoil. But the next one is a demo of getting stabbed, then feeling the knife enter your stomach and get driven even deeper. Now, this is one where you have to turn up the intensity to appreciate, because the initial pierce is, well, piercing. It feels like a strong shock in my stomach and then a dull twisting as the virtual blade moved in my abdomen. Really,
That's got to be crazy to feel a virtual object twisting inside of you. You know? Ugh. That's got to be so crazy.
it just sent chills down my spine, and my first impression is this is kind of what I've been looking for. I've said it before, but I've been chasing the feeling of hyper immersion within VR, a feeling I only really felt a few times when I first got into VR, then that wore off. If I am feeling actual sensations this convincing and real in VR, like actual real pain or light tingling feelings, it changes the way I'd interact with the virtual world entirely. Things stop feeling like much of a game and more like an immersive simulation where your body is on the line. And I'd imagine I'd take things a little more seriously, but I haven't been in VR yet, and that's when everything comes together. The demo that OO has set up is a pretty simple wave shooter that really isn't anything special graphically or gameplay wise, but that doesn't change the fact that this is the single thing that moved me the most from all of CES, and potentially is one of the coolest things I've tried in VR, cookie cutter wave shooter aside. In the game, drones fly from all directions and fire a variety of weapons at you, all of which feel different. And I calibrated my skin to be pretty intense, and holy crap guys, I have never felt something like that. To be completely within a virtual world, see a 3D model of a drone that I don't take very seriously, then to have the drone shoot a bolt at me and my side flinches from pain, made me take these drones quite a bit more seriously very quickly. There were actual real-life consequences to getting shot or missing your shots, or not properly blocking the shots with my shield, which by the way, even blocking things with the shield sent a jolt through my arm. As I'm standing there getting shot from all angles in a wave shooter on a years-old headset, I was completely immersed. There is legitimately nothing out there that will make you think on your toes than to be in real pain, real physical stimuli to something that is happening to you in virtual reality. And I'm not gonna lie guys, I really don't know if people are ready for this. I mean, I know I am, and I know that people are, but this was really intense and kind of changes the nature of virtual reality entirely. I just imagined a more realistic game, or multiplayer game, or turning down the intensity and feeling rain fall around you in some realistic looking VR simulator. Or someone in VR touching your avatar and feeling the tingles on your chest, not through vibrations, but through your muscles contracting. I had a very moving experience, and I wanted to just take one home, but they unfortunately wouldn't let me. You'll also notice this shirt is branded Meta. Now, I asked them a few questions about this, but I didn't get a full response, so I don't know if this was just for fun on their side, or if this is possibly going to be a Meta product in the future, but this actually changes everything. I know I've said that quite a bit in the past, but the resolution and field of view of headsets matters far less when you can actually feel things. Plus, like I said, this works on standalone already. Yeah, that's the OO skin. This year, $500. If this actually happens, this instantly becomes one of the absolute craziest thrill-seeking amazing immersion boosters ever, and I really can't wait to see how much my mind goes crazy when I combine something like the Tesla suit or this with an omnidirectional treadmill or XR3 or full body tracking or all of them. Either way, I should be making videos like the one I just described and with the Tesla suit soon, so make sure you're subscribed and hit the bell for all.
Cool stuff. I mean, there it is. So this is the Tesla suit. I'm going to swap over real quick. Give me 1 second. I meant to have the other one open. So some people have been seeing this all over the place. The Assassin's Creed Mirage Edition. I've been seeing a lot of news about this. I can't remember. I feel like this is less than a week old. But this is OWO teamed up with Assassin's Creed Mirage to make a what I think is actually pretty cool looking. I think it actually looks pretty neat. Founder Edition. Let me see if they got these here still. Yeah. So yeah, $500 is what they cost now. This is what they look like. They call it the Founders Edition because this is just like the beginning of it. They have a ton of games. Here, I'll pop open so you guys can see the full list. Do you see this? Sage? League of Legends.
Oh. Why?
That's so strange to me. You're just sitting at your computer getting shocked. Rocket League, another really weird one. World of Tanks, Drone War, very, very odd. But it also works with games like The Forest, which sounds awesome. Fortnite, Arizona Sunshine, Halo Infinite, Half-Life Alyx. More than enough games, I think, to Beat Saber. I like what he said about like when you shoot a gun, it like vibrates your like low tier vibrate shocks like your arm for like the feedback effect.
Yeah, that's what I imagine anyway.
So OWO is pretty new still, even though that was a year ago. It's still pretty new. I'm kind of holding out for their next edition, their like more full body edition. But the size of it though, like the thinness of it, that it's basically like just putting a shirt on is pretty awesome. It is pretty awesome. What is this? Weight less than 600 grams. Uses Bluetooth 5.2. USB-C rechargeable battery with an 8-hour duration. I mean, 9 sizes available. So as far as a consumer haptic product, I think this is the closest we're going to get to consumer friendly. Because when we go into the Tesla for $12,999, it starts getting a little
not so much.
not so consumer friendly. I mean, this is the full body though. This is covering all of you. And it's also tracking. 14 sensors, 100 frames per second. Motion captures on, what is this? 6-axis or 9-axis mode. Obviously, that's got to do with what game you're playing or what you're on. I just don't believe that anything is like. I feel like not many things are calibrated for this. Like, how could you possibly get the full value out of this? We got medical edition, academic programs, use cases, high voltage electrical safety training. That's fucked up. Every time you screw something up, it electrocutes the shit out of you.
You're gonna learn real quick.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering how many games I don't even see a section on here for games. It says coming soon, so maybe they're not even really ready for it. Can you imagine getting a $13,000 suit and it isn't compatible with a single game? Oh. However, this is the direction obviously Uwu's going to go into, or Owo. Like you got to have the tracking in it eventually, but I don't really care about the tracking. I care about the haptic feedback. The tracking will come. You know what I mean? Like the tracking will come eventually, but the to feel someone punch me in the back of the head is what I want. So there you go. We mix the we get the Owo to full body, much like this. You add in the omnidirectional track for moving around, and then you throw on a Prime 3 haptic glove with tracking. What else is there?
It's the trifecta.
You're 90% the way to a full Sword Art Online experience. Not even close. You're like 20% the way there. But you know, it's good to know, like, especially Owo, you know, Innovation Award of 2022. This is very new. And I've been seeing a lot of news about this Assassin's Creed Mirage Edition. I'm assuming this has got a lot to do with the PlayStation 5's VR stuff. The cool thing is that this suit works on games even outside of VR. Like if you just want to feel, like if you're playing Call of Duty and you're sitting on the couch with your controller and you just want to feel the gunshots, you can. I don't know why you'd do that, but you know, there it is. So we're getting there. We're getting there. This is great that we have this kind of in the pipeline. To me, this show, especially with the one saying Meta on it, I think a lot of these peripherals, especially in the next like 3-4 years, are going to become things that you see like streamers and stuff getting into, see people getting into. Omni one's not even out yet, so you know, we'll see. How much do you think this is going to cost? $3,000? I know they have things like this already. This one's just like really, really good. I don't know. You know what the hard part's going to be is going to be all of these game development companies trying to make their games work with all this shit. Can you imagine like trying to get a game set up with this, and this active? Oh,
the amount of gear you need. Well, honestly, you know what? I would not imagine it. I would imagine it being pretty typical for them to release like an API for it and modders first and foremost.
Yep, you're right. The modding community would be all over it.
Yep.
Holy shit. That glove the dude was wearing is $15,000 for the glove.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, look at that. Force feedback, finger tracking, biometrics, and haptic feedback.
Oh, it can tell you if you're having a heart attack or if you're seasick from all the
I
VR.
was expecting it to be a little expensive, but not... I mean, that's the thing, though. You pick up an object with the gloves on, and it forces your fingers to move to the precision of the exterior of the object. Something about that, though. You know what I mean? Like, that's got to feel insane. As far as, like, what your brain's doing. MetaQuest 2 controllers, Vive trackers. Yeah, they got it all. Biometric system. Damn. Well, shit, dude. We I thought this was going to be a short one. Not so much.
We stretched it out. We had stuff.
We have stuff to say. We got things to say. We got opinions up in here.
Oh yeah.
Cool. All right, guys. We're going to wrap this up. I got to piss like an hour ago. Thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out as always. Monday seems to be kind of the slower news day typically, but this was good. This was great. We'll be back in 2 days.
So hopefully something cool happens.
Hopefully
We'll talk
something
about
happens between now and then. So we'll be back 9 p.m. EST on the 19th for another podcast. Our guests keep pushing their dates back, so we'll see. We'll see. That's something I meant to tell you, Sage. I didn't know until like 5 minutes before the podcast started. So
Oh, okay.
I recently, like moments ago, got some feedback that we're gonna have to wait until August for one of them, and I am now unknown on the other. So we'll see. I guess this is my lesson to learn not to hype anything up on the podcast until like it's a set in stone for sure. I thought it was, I guess, but yeah, we're gonna get some guests on here. We need guests. We need co-hosts. We need a VR VTube avatar for Sage, so I'm not up here alone all the time. Just kidding, Sage. You don't have to do that.
I've got something in the works. Like
Ooh.
I've got stuff coming. It's gonna take a little while, but it's gonna be quality.
It'd be cool. I would totally tune into is if someone did basically what I'm doing here, what we're doing here with Trade and Raid, but they did it as their VTuber avatars in a place like the VR chat, and they had like an actual setup in the VR chat, and then they invited VTubers in to be interviewed. I'd be all over that. They'd have a live studio audience. That'd be too crazy. They couldn't do that. There's no ramifications for their actions. Cool. All right, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. As always, really appreciate it. Sage, do you have anything for the people?
Oh, we love y'all, and we will see you next time on the Trade and Raid.
And I'm not going to hit end stream. I'm going to go to a blank screen, so that way the record is correct.